Welcome, 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 welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Hoots podcast. You were just listening to Mark Morton featuring Chester Bennington, Chester's last recorded song. The song's called Cross Off. It's on Mark Morton's album Anesthetic. Mark Morton, guitarist for Lamb of God, doing his little solo album featuring other artists like Jacoby Shaddix from Papa Roach. Chester's song Cross Off on there is amazing. A lot of other artists. Go check that out. That's one thing that we're going to talk to. There's a little music time at the beginning. That's why we're doing it. Guys, we're going back to a little bit of the variety show style here on the Hoots podcast. This is episode 152. I am the clown prince of podcasting, Adam Daley. I am filling in for Josh Lopez today, who's here with us, but we're doing a little superstar shakeup all over again. I am not quite a superstar. This gentleman is. Follow him on Twitter and Instagram at the Hoots Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, Josh Lopez. Josh, what's going on?
What's up, brother? Hope everybody's having a good week. Busy couple weeks with the Superstar Shakeup. We know where everybody is. We're gonna hit onto that towards the end of the show, but I'm doing pretty good. I can't decide if we're gonna have a blizzard or not the next day. It's weird. We have summer, then the blizzard. That's just how it is here in Chicago.
That's what's crazy. I mean, it got chillier here, but it's 80 some degrees here now in Pittsburgh, and I know you said you had snow, a couple of days ago. It got cold here, but we didn't get any snow. We had tornado watches, I think, a couple of days ago.
Mm-hmm. I think we got up to like 5 inches last Sunday. It was ridiculous.
That's nuts. Yeah, it's the middle of April. This shouldn't be happening anymore. Where was this in December? I mean, you guys probably got it. We didn't really get that much, or at least didn't seem that bad in the Pittsburgh area this year.
Yeah, I think the most that we got this winter was 8 inches.
Okay,
somewhere around there. It was. I thought it was more coming because the last couple summers has been more warmer than it was. So I expected this one to be bad. I'm not gonna whine and moan about it. I'm accustomed to this. It's been my whole life. This type of weather, but. Just some unfortunate stuff going on with the city and more shootings and stuff like that. But weather-wise, I mean, it is what it is. But I wanted to say this really quick before we get going with the show and stuff. Thank you everybody who took the time to check out last week's episode, man. It was pretty cool. The feedback was awesome. Shout out to all our good brothers and good sisters, by the way. I just wanted to get that out of the way.
Mm-hmm. There we go. See, now you're doing my job for me. Thanks. We switch it up one thing. You think I'm going to forget something. See, he does acts like this is my first rodeo. And of course, I'm going to tell you guys, make sure you subscribe to us, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you find your podcast, search the Hoots Podcast. You should be able to find us. Subscribe, rate, review, hit up Josh on the social medias at the Hoots Podcast. Like I said, send questions in for the show, topics you'd like us to cover. I am not on social media, so you got to worry about that. I like to make it nice and seamless. I always say, real G's move in silence like lasagna. But speaking of music, we're going to start on a little musical side of things today. Like I said, we led in with Mark Morton featuring Chester Bennington. I kind of picked a couple songs and sent it Josh's way. I wanted to start with a couple different bands so that we could talk about them. And since we started with the Mark Morton song featuring Chester, I wanted to talk about this with you, Josh. I know a lot of our audience, the people listening to the show, the great people, because I really don't know why you listen to us. So we thank you for that. I know that we do have a lot of Linkin Park fans that listen to the show. Big time Chester fans, big time Shinoda fans, and everyone in the band. I just read an interview that was an excerpt from a video, I believe, a video interview, and the DJ from Linkin Park, Joseph Hahn. Linkin Park fans know that, but in case you don't know, he's the DJ, was speaking in an interview recently, and for the first time since Chester's untimely death, there might be a glimmer of light on a future for Linkin Park. And Josh, I'm going to get your opinion on this, and then we'll talk back and forth. But what was asked was, will Linkin Park ever come out with another album? Now that with the loss of Chester Bennington, what will go forward? And I guess Joe Hahn kind of laughed about it at first, laughed it off and said, well, maybe in a decade or so, and kind of laughed it off. But I guess and this is nothing in concrete, obviously, but they were talking about it, and it looks like maybe sooner than later, I guess he was loosely, quoted as saying, we will get a Linkin Park album. Now, no word on if there will be a new lead singer to fill in for Chester. No word on what it, the sound or anything like that. No real time frame. But this is the first time we've actually heard anything leaning towards Linkin Park getting back together and putting more music out post Chester Bennington. So, Josh, what I wanted to talk to you about that, because we dip into a bunch of the arts, music, entertainment, different things like that, along with professional wrestling.
Right.
How do you feel about Linkin Park going forward, potentially with a new co-lead singer? Because we all know Shinoda and Chester always share the lyrics, but with a new lead singer, or potentially just staying maybe a five-man outfit instead of going with a six-piece outfit. What are your thoughts, man?
I certainly hope it happens. Me personally, I have a lot of regret that I never got to watch Linkin Park perform live in person. I never got to see.
They're so good live.
I never seen Chester perform live, and it really sucks. This is a little example to show you how big of a Linkin Park fan I am. The first, I'll say, 5 to 10 songs I learned on the guitar were Linkin Park songs. I had a routine when I was in my radio school at the time. I would actually in the morning wake up and sing, waiting for the end and the catalyst to get my throat going for the day to open. I would sing Linkin Park songs to get me like in the mood to record shows. I still do it here and there. I switch it out. Some weeks I'll listen to a playlist I made for myself just to get in the zone. I love Linkin Park. It's, besides the Eagles, it's probably my favorite rock band in general, or any band in general. And I hope it would happen. I think it'd be something creatively lifting for them as performers and as a group in general. It just depends what they want to do, and whatever decisions they make, I think we all can respect that for their own personal reasons. So I do hope it happens.
Well, I wanted to bring this up because it's about 20, I believe it's 20 years since Hybrid Theory came out. Because I believe that came out in 1999. Maybe it was 98, but I really feel like it was 99. I'm probably wrong. The internet will let me know about it. But dude, I've seen Linkin Park a million times, and I don't say a million, obviously. It's an exaggeration. That's probably 7, 8, 9. I don't know. When you really enjoy your 20s, there's concerts you kind of forget too that you're at. You were there, your body was there, but mind and spiritually, you probably weren't there. But I've seen them enough to know they were absolutely one of the best live bands that I've seen. A lot of people kind of quit listening to their albums because they thought they went pop, or they thought they went industrial, or they went electronic, or they went soft, or they went this or that. There was not, they don't compare album to stage. And that's what a true artist, I believe, is going to sound a lot better live anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
I got to see him was back in, I want to say it was 2008. So it's been a while, unfortunately, for me, since I've really seen that many concerts, but other than Muse. And I know I'm going to get some ribs from that one. But last time I saw them, for me, it was actually, this is something that now, at least I can in hindsight say, the last show that I saw them, it's kind of very bittersweet, but Chris Cornell, they were touring, I believe Audio Slave was on the tour with him. It was a Project Revolution. So maybe it would have to have been Audio Slave at the time. But Chris Cornell came out on stage and performed and sang Crawling with Chester. And that was like a moment, and then to fast forward, what was it, 9 years later, to the untimely deaths of them both. Unfortunately, the way that they both that it both happened. You look back at moments like that. We always say with this is how it ties into wrestling. We always say with wrestling, a lot of times it's not. You want the show to always be 5 stars. The Dave Meltzer 5 stars. You always want the entire event. So every concert you go to, you want every concert. But when you see a band enough, you kind of start to know their MO. You start to look for certain songs versus other songs. You start to look for, and it's not the popular songs on the radio either. But this is one of those moments out of again, Linkin Park. I'd have to go back through the tickets that I have. I keep all my tickets for shows like that. I've seen them 7 or 8 times. That's one memory that I'll never forget was Chester and Cornell. Especially for somebody of my age, to have remembered Soundgarden when I was I guess when you would have been into Linkin Park, I was into Soundgarden and Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Stone Temple Pilots and Tool, who we're going to talk about in a second. So it was like seeing 2 of my generational kind of like bands come together as one. So That sticks with me now too, as far as the last performance, just for how much of a Linkin Park fan I am. I will admit, I've always thought that they should have kept going forward. Other bands it's happened to. I don't want to speak for anybody. Obviously it's a very tricky situation, a very touchy situation. It's very complex, but I do think that there's a lot of fans out there that never got a chance to see Linkin Park, like my daughter, for example. That's arguably her favorite band. I mean, and I still believe she'd probably like to see them, even though Chester is not with us. So I'm sure they could get a new lead singer. A lot of bands have done it and still been successful after the fact. AC/DC is a great example. And I still think there's life in Linkin Park. There can be life after death. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I'm not going to be one of those people that say, "Oh, well, they're selling out and they're disrespecting." No, sometimes, like, the unfortunate side of it is that sometimes the show must go on because there is a void left for fans, and we'll never get Chester back. However, we can get Linkin Park back, and at least that might help a lot of people that are in pain, and still people that suffer from mental health issues, from anxiety, from depression, from whatever the case may be. And that's why we push the positivity side of things on this show, and why I think it would be important for Linkin Park to go on, because it's a show of strength. It's a show of overcoming. Let's face it, you're never going to replace a Chester Bennington, right? It's just impossible. It's impossible to replace a voice of a generation, a voice. Nirvana never was going to get another lead singer, but Nirvana was probably going to be done as Nirvana after that album. But I just think that this is where they can kind of refine themselves again and create music that's similar but a little bit different. And maybe they're going to probably lose some fans. But I mean, that's part of being an artist, right? As you grow, you're going to lose fans that don't grow with you. But I think that's the beauty of art and beauty of music and beauty of whatever we're looking at that way. So
you're mentioning you had your own different group of bands that you had during that time period in the 90s. For me, I had Foo Fighters, Linkin Park, Queens of the Stone Age, and Avenged Sevenfold at the time.
Yes, yeah. I started listening to them. It's funny because Pittsburgh's such a heavy rock kind of city, and when I started listening to Avenged Sevenfold, a lot of people around here weren't digging them at first, man, and they thought I was insane. They're like, "Oh, it just sounds like a cheap Guns N' Roses knockoff." It's like, these dudes are amazing. What's wrong with you people? Around here, it legit has to get played on the radio 85 times or be Metallica for anybody here to like it. It's just the way Pittsburgh is. It's old school steel industry stuff. It's not going to change that.
Megadeth too.
What's that?
Megadeth.
I have some Megadeth albums. Not as I don't think it's as there. No, there's a pretty heavy metal scene here. Yeah, I mean Pittsburgh's very, very diverse when it comes to musically. But there's a real good. There used to be a really good underground industrial scene here too, late '90s or early 2000s, and electronica. Not that I was a part of either of those, but I'm just saying if been in a previous life.
Right.
But that's, but just, you guys out there listening at home, the good brothers and sisters listening at home, let us know what you think about maybe Linkin Park going forward right now without Chester Bennington. Good idea, bad idea. And they're not saying they're working on an album, guys. What I was saying, all I'm saying is that Joseph Hahn finally kind of said, you know what, there's a possibility, where before they would just never answer any questions. And it kind of sounded more like they were than they weren't. So that's why I just wanted to, Josh, get your opinion on it and kind of, get everyone's opinion out there that's listening. Keeping the music theme for a couple minutes, because like you were saying, you were mentioning up some of the band or bringing up some of the bands that you grew up to. I started listening to this band, this very strange, different band called Tool when I was around like 11, 12 years old. Probably gives you an insight into my psyche, but this blew my mind because this is, and I know again, a certain half of our listener base is definitely not going to get this, Josh. But yesterday, April 17th, was the Reverend, and I know, and this one is for Corey Graves too. But yesterday, the Reverend Maynard James Keenan turned 55 years old. Now wow, yeah. Okay, so Tool was my first concert back in 1997, Lollapalooza '97. Tool, Korn, Snoop, the Marley Brothers. I mean, it was a great show, top to bottom. But yeah, I know you can see the laughter there, but The thought that Maynard Keenan is 55 years old, it's not. I don't know if I can accept that. I don't know if I can accept that as a human being, and because it's showing, number one, I probably my age, but I still can't. I can't ever think of Maynard in like his like mid 50s, like headed towards 60. He's only 5 years younger than my dad. I never thought of Maynard like that.
I got a question for you. Was that the only Lollapalooza you went to?
I went to Lollapalooza '97 and Lollapalooza 2003.
Wow.
Cornell called me out because I had bleached blonde hair and was extremely intoxicated at the time, and he called me Eminem, and it was, in hindsight, again, another Chris Cornell moment. It was one of the greatest moments of my life. But yeah, I was in no condition to be on a Chris Cornell at that stage of my life. I got to see those two. That was before it was just up in Chicago, though. Lollapalooza used to travel a little bit more. Perry Farrell from Jane's Addiction set it up back in the early 90s. You guys know the history of Lollapalooza. I don't need to lay that out for you, but we are going to lay out the history of Tool for you. And Maynard isn't obviously just the lead singer of Tool. Maynard James Keenan, lead vocalist for Tool, A Perfect Circle, that super group, and his own side project called Pussifer. I am a huge fan of all projects Maynard James Keenan, his winery, his vineyard, I guess, whatever the correct terminology is. Some movie cameos that he's done with the Bikini Bandits and things like that. Josh, what I want to know from you is, you got 3 bands. I don't know how much Pussifer you've listened to, but you have Tool, you have A Perfect Circle, and then you have Pussifer, and even Maynard cameos on other albums like Know Your Enemy on Rage Against the Machine, or Passenger with the Deftones, him and Chino together. It's like you could just fall into the vocals, man. Those 2 voices could just sing me to sleep for the rest of my life. What are some, like, since we're celebrating Maynard's 55th, because it's the double nickel was I'm gonna have I'll have not a midlife but an end of life crisis once I hit 55. So that being said, because Maynard is handling it so gracefully, because he's never irritated online anymore. What are some of your favorite Tool tracks, Perfect Circle tracks, maybe maybe to play, to listen to, if you're familiar with Pussifer, some of their tracks?
I'm not familiar with Pussifer. That's a shame on me that I should go check.
It's a difference.
I should check that out. For me personally, and just to bring Rage Against the Machine into this, one of my favorite songs I got to play for their songs was Killing in the Name Of. It's one of my favorites to play on the guitar, and just the fun way you can experiment with different pedal boards and stuff. Flanger, chorus, anything, delay, modulation. It's fucking awesome. But in some way, I bet you, even if you ask Tom Morello, he got some inspiration from Maynard in his guitar playing as well. And the way
Maynard doesn't play guitar though, so I don't know.
No, I'm saying for his groups and stuff. I'm saying, like,
yeah, I could see that
from a music standpoint. So, anyways, like, I love Vicarious. That's my favorite Tool song. Working with my uncle at the tattoo shop, Tool's his favorite band, by the way. Good. So I listen to a lot of Tool songs. I'm not always great with remembering song titles, but I listen to a lot of it at the shop while things are going on. People getting tattoos. People don't know if they want to get a Make America Great tattoo or whatever. I don't know. Like, stuff happens at the shop. But anyways, we listen to a lot of Tool at the shop, and I have a lot more respect for that guy, man. He's definitely a legend in the music game. Just from a creative standpoint, and how he structured out his songs from rhythms and time signatures, and like I'd be curious if he even like wrote out like a full like traditional music sheet of how he has his song structured out. It'd be something cool to look at someday down the road. But Tool's always been one of the best bands I've listened to over the years. Does it get enough mainstream appreciation over the years as other groups have? Probably not. But I
actually think that's better though. Just because their songs are so long, it's hard to take a Tool song and put it on the radio, because it's hard for a lot of people to go through a 10-minute prog rock, metal, or rocks, slash whatever you want to label them. But a lot of people just can't sit through that 9-minute roller coaster of a prog rock song anymore. And I, like the old Pink Floyd style, I mean, we could put a Rush, and a lot of people in there. But there's just, to me, there's just something so beautifully chaotic and I don't know. There's such an amazing, when you hear them all by themselves, they sound, Tool especially, and I'm going to talk about some of the, his other projects too. But when you hear Tool stripped down in their own form, it really is four guys that are just making their own music that somehow they fit it all together and make it work. And Maynard is a small fraction of Tool. That's more Adam Jones's band, and I know Maynard gets more of like the Tool, and I think he kind of pushes that away.
Jones played the national anthem, the SummerSlam Punk Cena, right?
Yep.
In LA. I try to remember that.
Yep. Because Adam Jones is a humongous pro wrestling fan, sports entertainment fan. I see him. I follow him on Instagram, and I don't use social media, but if I did on Instagram, I noticed that he's always liking stuff that Marty Scurll puts out, like certain wrestlers. So he's big into the wrestling game. But when it gets to Tool though. So listen, here's speaking of it, you're a tattoo parlor, brother. I actually have a quarter sleeve dedicated to Tool, and it's a phoenix ripping out of an eye from their first album, Opiate. The priest had a certain eye going to the Buddhist Eye of Enlightenment that's on the Lateralis album, and it basically takes up a whole quarter sleeve. Go see JT down at the House of Ink in Monroe, North Carolina. They do fantastic. He is amazing. He's amazing. There's a cheap plug for him down there, but yeah, so I is a Tool fanatic that has, I will say that the funny part about Tool and that what people don't understand about Tool, because they're a very unique band. You either love them or hate them. There's no in between. And Tool fans, and probably this is why Maynard has gotten so just irritated over the years. Tool fans can be very pretentious. Like, we all think that we're the best Tool fans and we know it all and whatever. I think the one funny thing for me, like listening to Maynard, through all his projects, but especially starting with Tool, it's when I was a kid in high school and stuff, or not kid in high school, but I guess junior high school. So when I was a kid, people thought I was a Satanist because I listened to Tool, because their videos were back then. It was just the stop motion, everything they were doing was so just different and creepy. And what Adam Jones was putting together was amazing. But nobody really got it, because we're younger and whatever. So when you're younger and you're into something a little more macabre and different things like that, or it's. Yeah, needless to say, and a lot of the Tool shirts that I would wear probably didn't help either. But yeah, I totally played into it. It's whatever. But man, I look back at the progression from when Tool started with the Opiate album all the way until now, and I wanted to bring Tool up with Maynard's 55th because we're also getting finally getting a new Tool album this year after I think it was 2005 or 2006. 10,000 Days came out. I think 2006 10,000 Days came out. So it's been a while for some new Tool material. That's finally happening this year. But when I look back, man, I mean, some of my favorite songs that Maynard does are from A Perfect Circle. Passive is one of my favorite songs. Disillusioned, The Doomed. Their newest album was fantastic. And how I'm bridging both of these together. The title track, which I actually forget I have to grab my phone now. The title track off of Eat the Elephant. I'm sorry, I don't even have to. The title track off of A Perfect Circle's new album was originally written by Linkin Park, and then it got taken over by it was supposed to be kind of handoff type of deal. You guys can research it, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm blending both of these together. But Lucifer is an amazing band to see by themselves. I've seen Maynard talk about concerts between A Perfect Circle and Tool. I've probably seen Maynard 20 times live now.
Wow.
I'm a Maynard mark. Yeah, it's bad. Water Bottle from a concert in Cleveland from 2000. It was during the Lateralis tour, so it was 2001. It was August of 2001, 2002, something like that. 2001 rather. The Lateralis tour alone, I seen him in Cleveland, State College, Erie, and Pittsburgh. And some of my friends have seen Tool even more. It's just Maynard's voice to me was they say voices of a generation. Like Chester is obviously one. Maynard is going to be the voice for me that is always that. When they say, "Hey, what's your favorite vocalist?" It's always going to be Maynard. It doesn't matter what project. It doesn't matter what. And I do think that when you said you'd love to see some of how he has some of his music written down and stuff like that. I think he thinks it's such a higher playing field than a lot of us that we wouldn't even be able to fathom. I mean, just the way that the song Lateralis is based around the Fibonacci sequence down to time settings and the way the dictation of the syllables and the vocals and down to even certain parts of the song fitting in the Fibonacci sequence as far as time stamps in the middle of the song, at a certain minute mark, it's brilliance on display by not only the vocalist but all the members in the band, stuff that the average Joe just would have no idea or concept. Yeah. Because I think that's the one thing about Maynard on the Tool side is they've always been like, listen, Tool fans, I don't think half the time know what the hell we're talking about when we're singing Tool songs. You know what I mean? Like, they're just on a different level. Obviously, A Perfect Circle is a little easier to digest vocals and stuff like that. It's a little more poppy, stuff like that. But yeah, man. It's just Maynard for me has always been somebody that has been go-to music all the time. It's a go-to vocalist, and again, you put him on any album, I'm going to listen to it. And ironically, for you quiz nerds out there, if you guys remember a little band called Green Jello that had to change their name to Green Jelly, this song called it was called the Three Little Pigs, or My Little Pigs, Three Little Pigs, whatever. It's like little pig, let me in, and then you hear by the hair of my chinny chin chin. James Keenan back in 1989, before Tool, before all that started. So
right.
The LA scene was very unique at that time. So we'll go back, check out all of Maynard's stuff. He's double nickel 55 today, which again, that makes me feel very old because. Josh, you realize there's some people listening to this that have no idea who Maynard James Keenan is.
Shame.
It's crazy to me.
Shame.
It blows my mind. It blows my mind that one of the most musically gifted people right now, someone's right now is going, why is this dude still talking about Maynard James Keenan? And what the hell does it have to do with Corey Graves? Look up Sterling James Keenan. Independent, baby. Be knowledgeable about your favorite people.
Do your homework, damn it.
Do your homework. All right. Enough music talk for today. Josh, what I want to do.
I wanted to say one thing on the music tip.
Yeah.
From a playing aspect, like doing like this is different genre of music, but like there's like jazz songs we play for 6-7 minutes, and sometimes they have some improvisation soul time in there. Like to have a band like Tool play live in concert where a lot of songs maybe max around 5 to 6 or 7 minute songs, maybe some songs go 10. I remember there was a band out there that had an 11-minute song that I played in my junior year of high school, something like that. Like just the detail you got focused on it. And I know Brett Carter will get to explain this more eloquently when we get to talk to him soon, but like the playing aspect of playing certain songs for that amount of time, and you have different parts of the song, or when you're focusing on a solo and then you're playing the background parts, so you make sure, the solo's been going on for 2-3 minutes, like your wrists start hurting because you're playing the same thing over and over again. It can be difficult at times, but it's a challenge that I like as playing the guitars, of having that type of song where it's like 8 or 9 minutes long. It's a lot of fun.
They have a song on their album 10,000 Days, which that's around 27 years, guys. If you need to know, it's called Wings for Marie, Wings for Marie Part 1 and 2. Long story short, they split it on the album into 2 tracks, but it's really one long track. Especially if you see them live, they're not going to play it anymore again. It's too emotional for Maynard. It's about his mother passing away. But the whole 10,000 Days album was about his mother being debilitated in a wheelchair for roughly 27 years. That's what the song Judith is also about by A Perfect Circle. But bringing that together, Josh, this song's like over 18 minutes long.
Wow.
Crazy. I mean, to see it live on a stage show, when you hear it on album with like a thunder, like it sounds like there's thunder cracking and lightning and everything, for them to be able to change it over onto their stage show and add visuals and make it seem like there's clouds going above you. And Tool wasn't a band that you must see live. And I know that Maynard's voice can't hit the notes that he might have been able to hit 10 or 15 years ago. But so it's still a band that if you've never seen them, Tool is a must.
And there's something with these performers that they don't get enough credit for, because like you're mentioning the visual light displays they have on the stage for their concerts and stuff. To do that and play the song correctly, where you have this pressure to make the sound like the record live, I don't think a lot of people give enough credit to these, especially the performers that are not like the stars and this and that, the underneath guys, not underneath guys, but like the background group guys in whatever band it is, they don't get enough credit because you got freaking red lights flashing. And I'm watching the music video of not the music, the live video of Paper Cut that Linkin Park did like 10 years ago, and it's like they got red and black. It's going in and out all over the place. Like you could be blind. I don't know. Maybe that'd be an exaggeration, but it would throw me off sometimes if I had like I don't know a song that would have green, blue, and white lights going off every 30 seconds.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up because there are. I guess what's the best way of I don't want to say rumors because it sounds whatever. There's but one of the stories that can be told about Maynard, and Maynard is a very mysterious person. You never really know with him, but he never stands in front of the band anymore when he's with Tool. He stands kind of off by Danny Carey, the drummer, off to the side. And one of the urban legends, I guess, that you hear about Maynard, that's when you know you're a legend, by the way, is when you have like urban legends about you, right? But the big like no flash photography, thing. It Tool shows it, a Perfect Circle shows. There's, he kind of stands back. He's always kind of worn sunglasses to some extent, maybe, as he's gotten older. One of the stories is he's actually very sensitive to light. So your point about like the flashing lights and how does he do all that? That was something that's tossed around in conversations. Now, whether there's any truth or substance behind that, I don't know. But Maynard isn't necessarily the most crowd-friendly guy anymore. He really is an artist versus he's not an entertainer. But there's nothing wrong with that. You can't when you're good, and you don't need to be on the entertainment side. Speaking of entertainment, last entertainment thing before we get to something sports related that isn't wrestling. I just want to slip this in there. Yeah. Game of Thrones, whatever. I'm the only person in the world that doesn't watch that. Even one of my favorite bands, Muse. They
I do too. I don't watch it.
Yeah, I didn't even check out the song that Muse released for it, so I don't really care because what I care about is that tonight the final 2 episodes of Gotham starting tonight, the theoretical finale, and then next week the 10-year time jump, which is the actual quote unquote show series finale. So Josh, you kind of have been in the loop. I don't really want to get into detail about this. I just wanted to remind everybody the final 2 episodes are here. And one thing I wanted to bring up is there's been a month since the last episode. I was wrong when I spoke about this a couple weeks ago. I don't know if this was intentional or if this was accidental, but Gotham will start back up tonight. Next week's episode is April 25th. It'll be on the 79th birthday of the original Batman comic.
Wow.
One came out April 25th, 1940, and they're going to end Gotham on April 25th, 2019. So there is something poetic. There is something, I think, sometimes when things come full cycle and full circle, and with Gotham being more of the prequel story of Batman versus an actual Batman story, I think it's actually pretty apropos that they end when Batman began. I think there's something cool about that. Even if that episode is the 10-year time jump, I just thought there was something really, really, really cool about that.
I have a couple entertainment things I wanted to share really quick. If you guys have not seen the trailer yet for the live action Lion King movie, please do it. It's freaking dope. I get it. It's gonna be the same movie that I saw a gazillion times as a kid, but I don't care, man. The graphics and how they're structuring out this live action movie is sick. I'm excited for it. It comes out in July, I think July 19th, to be exact. I'm excited for that. And also the Star Wars episode 9 trailer that came out last Friday. That was pretty cool. Well, it's not actually the full trailer, it's the teaser one, but still it's pretty dope.
For which movie?
Episode 9, Rise of the Skywalker. That's
I still have to see that. I got to see Mark Hamill on a show. I think he was on Seth Meyers this week, and he was talking about a different project he was on. I was hoping he was going to talk more about Joker, but he had most of the time hinting and non-hinting that if or he is or isn't in episode 9. So I guess it's like his world mission right now is just to completely troll everybody until that movie comes out.
Right.
Real quick, you know what? Speaking of that, I want to get your thoughts on this then. Because this is an interesting question or an interesting proposition to people. Whomever is directing Marvel's Endgame, the Avengers Endgame, I don't know who the director is. I don't care as much.
Russo brothers.
Okay, so what they're doing is they've asked fans to, if when you go see it, if and when you go see it in theaters, which I'm sure everybody is, I'm gonna end up seeing it too. It's not, I knock on it a lot, but I've watched half of the movies. I guess I might as well watch the last one. Iron Man dies, but anyway, the one,
or Ragnarok.
the one, unfortunately, way too much. So not anymore though, thankfully. But the one thing the directors, the writers, everything have asked fans to do is, if you see Endgame, it's almost like Fight Club. If you see Endgame, you don't talk about Endgame. You don't give spoilers away. Josh, in today's social media, need to know, I want to be the one who spoils it because I am the antagonist, the contrarian, and want to tell you why everything's bad or why it was good, and because everybody's an expert. What do you think the actual chances on a Scott Steiner 137 scale, 0 to 137%? What are the chances this gets spoiled before it even comes out?
140%.
Yeah, it's bad. Like, why would you like by even addressing that? You've just told your fans, go spoil it.
Yeah. You got a rude awakening when you try to do that stuff on social media, man. I don't agree with that type of mindset, to be honest with you.
I agree. No, I agree.
Because I just want to watch it and watch it for what it is. That's kind of like one of the main issues I have when it comes to like certain wrestling fans be like whining that the shows are too predictable when you spend most of your day trying to figure out what's going to happen on Raw or SmackDown each week before it comes on air. It kind of defeats the purpose. You don't want the shows to be predictable. Watch the show for what it is, and don't go find out what spoilers or what's going to happen, who's going to have a longer title reign and who or whatever. Like it defeats the purpose. But a friend of mine is coming like to me, man. Endgame is gonna be like 3 hours, like 3 hours and 20 minutes or something like that. I'm like, hey man, they ain't nothing to me, man. Right. I hope it's good. It sucks that I haven't got to see Captain Marvel yet, but I am excited to see Brie Larson.
Yeah, I thought Captain Marvel was good. Well, you know what though? What makes me laugh about it is that if you follow the comics, I mean, you're gonna kind of know, or at least have some sort of idea what goes on, right? I mean, so it's not like there's probably going to be some things they change like they always do. And which I think is important to keep fans on their toes. But this isn't like all right, so I'm going to give an example. There was a little movie called Seven that is always going to be in my top 3 movies with Mallrats and probably American Psycho. But as far as Seven goes, if you haven't seen the movie, spoiler alert, her head's in the box, right? Now, this came out back I think 95 it came out. Saw it when I was in high school. I checked it out. I was dating, at the time, whatever. Sat down and watched it. It was the first movie where at the end I was like, holy shit, this was awesome. That moment of like, I can't believe they did this, kind of like, not that it was awesome, but when Brad Pitt finds out that John Doe did win and that he was going to be able to, fulfill his little prophecy. It was so chilling, right?
Yes.
School the next day. And like I said, the chick I was dating at the time was we're just running around school. Her head's in the box. I'm like, what are you doing? No, that. Like, it's one of the biggest, that's like when somebody, I've still never seen The Sixth Sense because somebody told me Bruce Willis was dead the entire time beforehand. Remember, we went over this couple, on one of our goofy ass shows. But yeah, like when you get an ending like that, spoiled. So just don't
do that.
I personally don't care, but Avengers fans, don't do it to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, they're gonna spoil for this stuff, and by the end they're done watching. This is bullshit, man. I saw this coming a mile away. Well,
you should
look in the mirror and you understand why.
Yeah, right. All right. So before we get to the Superstar Shakeup, let's talk real quick for you American football fans out there. The NFL schedules were released last night.
All right.
There's a lot of games that, it kind of got leaked during the day. I didn't even know the schedule was coming out until halfway through the day. Someone texted me about the Dolphins playing in Pittsburgh, and they're Dolphins fans and they want to come in town for the weekend, which is the day after my birthday. My Oakland Raiders play in Houston, Texas, the day of my 40th birthday, which is the building where I found out I was going to be a father. So
that's awesome.
Might have to take a 40th birthday trip and see my Raiders. Although I think I might need to see them in Oakland this year just in case it's their last year there. Yeah. Josh, we have a game circled on the docket that even our international listeners are going to be able to, if you guys are Spurs fans over there in England, We are playing at Tottenham Hotspur. It is Josh's Bears, technically at my Oakland Raiders, who are playing Tottenham. As that's our home field for a week, I guess, because we're the Raiders and they just like throwing us in random places. But Josh, at least it's going to be a 1 p.m. Eastern time game, so it'll be over there. I think that's probably a 6 p.m. start for
local time. Yep.
And that's a fantastic start time for you guys over across the pond. I hope you guys are warming up to American football. And guys that are listening, that have, guys and gals that have listened to us over the years, I hope you at least enjoy the banter that we're going to have for that. Build up. I think that's what, week 5.
Yes, week 5. Yep.
Okay. So, and before I talk to you about your Bears schedule, I kind of looked at the Raiders schedule. I really don't get in football mode till August. I can't. It's April. I got
too early, man.
Yeah, I got bills and shit, man. I ain't got to worry about that. But I will say this: if everybody's complaining, I'm going to pull up a tweet that Colin Coward actually put out and said whoever writes the schedule must really hate the Raiders. Welcome to every single season that you're a Raiders fan. Like, we never have a favorable schedule. We travel more than any other team always. I mean, part of it's location, part of it's just the way that they run us. And if you want a perfect example, the Tottenham Hotspur game we're giving up as a home game. So that game would have been in Oakland. Okay, so Josh, we open our first 2 games, Monday Night Football against Denver. I think week 2 we play it's either San Diego. I'm sorry, the Chargers. I keep saying San Diego. It's either the Chargers or the Chiefs. It's another divisional game. So our first 2 games are in Oakland, which is September 5th and 12th, I believe, or 5th.
Correct.
And we don't have another game in Oakland until November. We go 6 or 7 weeks without a game back, like without games in Oakland. What are you doing, NFL? What are you doing to the city of Oakland? Like,
they literally want a black hole.
That's what it's. It's like it's constant punishment when you're a Raiders fan, but you expect it and you welcome it, and we welcome it with open arms. Josh, what do you think of the Bears schedule?
I want to say something on the Raiders game really quick. The one that we have at Tottenham. Not only is it a good time for those locally, it's also a good time for us here in the States, because I did not feel like waking up at 8 o'clock in the morning to
watch. Yeah, I wasn't feeling a 9 a.m. game.
Yeah, no shot.
It would have been 9 a.m. here in Pittsburgh. It would have been 8 where you're at in Chicago. I listen. I love football and I love my Oakland Raiders, but 9 a.m. is on the one day off I might have off a week is, you know what I mean? That's early.
I'm one of those Bears fans who watch and listen to pre and post game shows. I watch most the press conferences that Coach Nagy does throughout the week. It's just a nice little routine I have for being a big sports fan. I have a sports show that I do here on this YouTube channel called The Sports Drive, so it catches me up with the Bears. Just like as a big Raider mark, I'm a big Bear mark, so we have our own ways of like catching up with our teams. So like I'm looking at it I'm looking at
it used to be that way. I used to be big time like everything, but now it's like give me my 16 games because we're not making playoffs and just
call it a day, right?
This year might be different. I don't know. I'm actually a little more optimistic, but your schedule, good sir, with the Chicago Bears.
While we do have the Hoop Bowl, I'm calling this the NFL's most pettiest game of the year. Bears at Raiders. Media they're gonna eat this up big time. The whole stuff with John Gruden and Khalil Mack. I'm sure we'll have our fun little banter here and there before the game comes, but it's gonna be fun regardless. That's kind of I don't know. Maybe it'd be something where I come out to Pittsburgh and just watch the game with you.
Yep.
Why not?
Yep. It's going to be an interesting time. It's kind of unique that it's on a neutral field, I guess. Neither can really claim home field. So that's kind of a funny little advantage. We try a lot longer over there.
Bears schedule. 10 teams this year having 5 primetime games. I don't know if anybody wants to see Kirk Cousins. I keep calling him Kurt for whatever reason. It's actually Kirk Cousins. 5 times on prime time this year. You get your regulars: Patriots, Steelers, Packers, Cowgirls, Eagles, other teams along the way. It's cool. It's pretty cool that the Bears are going to have 5 primetime games this year. Obviously, the NFL Centennial season will start September 5th on a Thursday. Packers at Bears. Bears celebrate their 100th year in the NFL. Is the NFL's charter franchise, so it's kind of cool that they're starting the season here in the city. I don't know if I'll go to that game or not, but that will be on NBC. I think
you guys opened up the season together last year too.
Yes, Sunday Night Football. Yeah, I remember that. Very good game. Very good game, but I'm not.
You didn't like the outcome, but Aaron Rodgers got me a fantasy win that week because of the comeback. So
it's all cool. It's all cool. We won the division title against them.
But now, let me ask this question now, because this is the last thing we'll talk about the NFL schedule as far as this goes. Typically, the NFL starts with your Super Bowl champion hosting typically who they beat in their conference final. Doing that this year. New England Patriots, we know, won their 6th Super Bowl last year. Shout out to any of the Patriots fans out there. Congrats on your 6th Super Bowl ring with one only. I'm sure Pat, and there's a lot of Patriots fans, I'm sure, that listen to this show. But congrats on your 6th. Congrats on doing it with one quarterback, unlike the Steelers, who had to do it through multiple generations. Gentlemen, sorry, had to get that one in there. But you know what? Let me ask this, Josh. I know I know you might be slightly biased with this because the Bears are playing, but isn't it odd? And I get it. They're celebrating 100 years. Bears Packers. It goes back a long ways. It's quite ironic that with all the trouble that Bob Kraft is in right now, that the Patriots aren't opening the season. Yeah. I wanted to put that out there and just thought that would be food for thought, that over the past, I can't remember how 15, 20 years, maybe the Super Bowl champion has began the very next season. And this is the one year that it's not happening. So
it's also a kind of indication of where the Steelers are going in the next couple of years too, because they're dropping them in New England to start off the season on Sunday Night Football. And they got obviously grilled with what's going on with Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell before they left the team. The GM says that basically you need to treat Ben Roethlisberger like he's your dad. It's looking like the Steelers are going to head towards the irrelevant path soon. So
there's a lot of old veterans that used to play, like Merrill Hodge, that are starting to speak out too, that didn't about certain, and I'm staying out of it because I try to stay Steeler neutral to just save face in my hometown, but I'm very anti Ben Roethlisberger because of some, I don't know, the 85 allegations that he has against him allegedly. But it is what it is. Everyone always blames everybody but Roethlisberger in this town, and I think ultimately we're starting to, in my opinion, I think that the teams that they've had over the past 10 years, they should have won a hell of a lot more Super Bowls. I just think Ben Roethlisberger is a prima donna that holds his team back, kind of like Derek Carr holds my Oakland Raiders back. But that is neither here nor there. And that'll wrap up our NFL schedule talk for this week. Yes, sir.
I'm gonna say this, and people can rip me wherever. I don't care. I think they may have a Super Bowl preview to wrap up Sunday Night Football this year.
Stop. All right.
Chiefs at Bears this year. Week 16 on Sunday Night Football. I can't wait for that. I know we're going to get into wrestling really soon, but I was kind of nervous looking at the schedule because the Bears are playing the Rams on Sunday Night Football too later on this year in November. And I was like, shit, it better not be the Night of Survivor Series. It's actually the week before. I was like, yes.
I mean, I of course, as a Bears fan, you're going to look at that game and say, hey, this could be potentially a. But I'm gonna pop your balloon for 1 second. And it's not even on the Bears side. Look, the Chiefs are going to have a little sophomore slump year with Mahomes. Just, you heard it here first.
Okay.
It's a copycat league. Our division actually got a little bit stronger. They're not going to be able to just push over teams like they did last year. They might sneak in as a wild card, but do not be surprised when the Chiefs don't even make the playoffs this year, especially when they're going to have a first place schedule compared to some of the more cakewalk schedules that they've had in the past.
I'm surprised they're putting him in the Hall of Fame already. It's ridiculous. Mahomes.
Oh, you mean his dad? Or you mean like other people? Other fans. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, listen, how many quarterbacks have we done this with? They've had stellar first seasons, and then we instantly, you want to crown them,
RG3.
Yeah, it's a league that is, you can fool people for a season, but they're going to catch on. The good ones, and I'm not saying, listen, the kid's incredible. He's super athletic. He's a superb athlete, but show me for a couple seasons first. And I just don't know. I think the Chiefs are, I think they've got some issues, especially with Spencer. It wasn't Spencer Rattler left, was it? It was
Kareem Hunt.
Kareem Hunt, yeah. For some reason in the NFL, for some reason in the NFL you can knock out a woman in Cleveland and then get signed there because that makes sense. But people want to knock wrestling. So moving on. All right, Superstar Shakeup happened. I'm gonna list them down beforehand. Josh, you want to talk about something with the War Raiders, who are now the Viking Experience. Let's talk about that a little bit.
So the last couple of weeks we've talked about like how cool it was to see Raw like really embraces Viking. It's not a gimmick. They even talked about it during the show on Monday. Cole, Grace address it. This is their lifestyle. You hear about Sarah Logan, like Raw and Logan, they're married together. They live a real life Viking lifestyle. Hanson looks like he could be on the show Vikings. I mean, you look at these guys on the screen, it fits what their character is. For me, wrestling names have always been hit or miss. There's legends. If you saw them for the first time, you saw, really? That's their name? Like, we could rattle off a whole list of names that you never thought would be major stars or whatever. I'm sure.
Could you imagine Demolition in today's world? They'd be like, who are these BDSM dudes that they're bringing in? And like, what is with this gimmick? You know what I mean? Like,
anybody remember Husky Harris?
Well, yeah, obviously,
yeah. It's my point. I mean, I'm sure Batista's fine after he started as Deacon Batista. Yeah,
I wonder if this had anything to play into it, and I just, and maybe it's just me overlooking things or whatever, but. At first, I thought maybe it was because the name War, and they don't want that on the main roster, But Ember Moon's, her nickname is the War Goddess, right?
Yes. No, she calls herself the She-Nom now.
She-Nom, okay. Oh, so she doesn't call herself. At one time, wasn't she the War Goddess?
In NXT, I think she called herself that.
Okay. So we're seeing a pattern here that when they go to the main roster, maybe we drop the word War out, like how it used to be Raw is War, and then you just drop that part out of it. So that. Part of it.
USA Network doesn't tell NXT what to do. NXT is a WWE Network property, not a Universal property.
And neither do the sponsors that are advertising on that show. So I think, potentially that had something to do with it. I also think that, then say if you just drop War from their name, you can't, and I know it's not because I'm the Raider fan here, you can't just call them the Raiders. There's copyright, there's trademark. Al Davis was just like there wouldn't be a tag team called the Steelers. Just like there wouldn't be a tag team, you just can't do that. So I think that it was layered on why they couldn't, they had to change their name. Is the Viking Experience, maybe I hold a little issue with it. It could have been a little bit better. I keep thinking of the Brad Maddox Experience every time I think of the Viking Experience, and that's something I never want to think about ever again, to be quite honest with you. But I think that I understand where some people might not have liked it, but at the same time, like you said, this is where, Rowe gets to really embrace the way that he lives his life. That's when it doesn't become a character anymore. That's when you turn yourself up to that, when you're at a 10, turn yourself up to a 13. That's what they always talk about when the greats, the greats become great because they tap into their inner self and they find out how to broaden that out and become greater than themselves. I don't mind it. It's just going to take a little bit of time to get used to, I think.
There's a quote Daniel Bryan used the day of WrestleMania, and I think it really curtails to this conversation here. It says that universal truth is not measured in mass appeal. And I totally agree with that. And it's something I realize, especially when it comes to stuff that happens on shows each week on social media. Now, for closer, like I mentioned before, I have Raw in the background while I'm cleaning, 90 tubes or something that day at the tattoo shop. So while I could see and hear what's going on live, I'm not fully paying attention live as the show's going on. But also, I don't. If you really think about it, I don't really think anybody is really paying attention to the show unless you're doing the result article on it live. I really do feel that way because most of the time we're watching Raw and seeing what other people are saying about it live as it's happening, and then that's the gospel, that's the truth. Oh, this is a stupid name. Oh, here we go. The War Raiders are now going to be the new Accession. Like all this stupid nonsense I saw on Monday. It's freaking ridiculous. So I saw a tweet the other day. I'm not gonna mention the username.
Yeah, I don't. So I like when I just get like blind quotes. I like this.
Yeah. The Viking Experience is the reason why long-term wrestling fans are going away in droves. Hope AEW is the next WCW.
Okay, so let me ask a question, Josh. If you're a fan of Joe Rogan's podcast, which a lot of people are you not watching it because it's called the Joe Rogan Experience? Do you not listen to Jimi Hendrix's one album because it's called the Jimi Hendrix Experience? Do you not, again, this isn't a name that's necessarily going to stick forever. But am I overly thrilled with it? I mean, they maybe could have, as somebody that prides himself on a little bit of creativity, I maybe would have came up with something different other than just but we don't know what they have planned for it. We've seen them once as the Viking Experience, right? We haven't seen them at a pay-per-view. We saw them one time on a Monday Night Raw. And by that, I mean, we don't know what their entrances are going to be like at pay-per-views. We don't know what their promos are going to be like. We don't know what their characters were, we might really get a Viking Experience. I mean, they're literally telling us what we're getting kind of like, so I don't want to say we might be. So if it's that descriptive, is it really worse than the Bludgeon Brothers? Because that was that cheesy mid-90s bullshit that made me like Skinner and Duke the Dumpster Droz, all that and listen, I'm a big Harper fan and a big Rowan fan. It just but the Bludgeon Brothers also grew on me too. Like I love the characters, but the name stunk. Let's just agree with it. The name just stunk.
Well, here's my thing. Like, why is everybody so quick to say things don't make sense? What about the Viking Experience does not make sense?
Oh, I thought it. Yeah, that's what I actually thought.
It's stupid because it doesn't make sense. Really? Look at the characters. I'm surprised they weren't called the Viking Experience in NXT. Like it's okay to pass over name changes from the Indies to NXT, but when they change their names on Raw or SmackDown, then it's a problem.
Right?
Like it's stupid. How many times we talked about in the past about people cherry picking things just to be pissed off about?
And we don't know now, especially looking at one name that we're about to talk about as far as the roster split goes, or the Superstar Shakeup. How do we know that Sarah Logan doesn't end up a part of that? Really going with her Viking gimmick as well, which isn't really as much of a gimmick because it's a real life way. It's a way of life for her. How do we know that she isn't incorporated into them somehow?
Right.
And then you're not the War Raiders. You're not the War Machine. You are something completely different then because you're adding a new element into it. So I think after 1 week, it goes the same thing as when we saw Braun Strowman the first time, right? It's the same thing as, whenever Braun came out away from the Wyatt family with the whole Braun, and I'll never forget my reaction to that day. And that's when I knew it was going to work, because, and whether you love it, hate it, whatever. I think given over time, it is going to grow on people. I think if it doesn't, no big deal. Who cares? We'll forget about it and probably will never get talked about on a podcast again. They'll get called something else, still be awesome and not a big deal.
Yeah. Like I found it interesting. Like Sami Zayn a couple weeks ago, it's a little promo on Raw. He's like, a lot of the people in the audience are the evil overlords of shows, right? I feel that NXT fans in the NXT bubble are the evil overlords through these characters because obviously nothing bad has ever happened on NXT. They're all Teflon. They do nothing wrong. You can't say anything bad about them. You can't change their name. You can't change their movesets. These NXT characters can't evolve. They can't do something different. I think Sasha Banks is a perfect example of that, and her buying too much of her own NXT stock instead of her as her own performer. I feel like a lot of times people think that this is something that's going to be in NXT. It's going to be universal success on the other stage, and it's just not that way. And sometimes these performances that these people drool over from NXT, sometimes for me personally, it wasn't that I wasn't a fan of them. I didn't see the hype that so many people put at certain NXT characters, but we know who these people are. So whether they change their name or not, it really doesn't mean anything.
Right.
It doesn't.
Well, and I think that's the major point to hit home, because I think, Josh, it's more of like it's in people's subconscious, because whether they realize it or not, it's totally it's subliminal. It's in the back of their heads that we don't realize we think this way, but because it is, we're always going to view NXT as WWE light in a way, right? It's WWE, but it's different. But it's WWE, but it's different. But we know it's WWE. Same with AEW right now. We kind of have a feeling with AEW about what it could be and what it might end up being, and probably what it's going to be, that kind of stuff. All of that being said, I think that when somebody does get signed to NXT, we feel like they're in. WWE got him in, and they're in. Nothing can be changed. But Andrade has gone through like 8 name changes between like Andrade Cien Almas, then he was just CN, then he was just Andrade, then he was just this, and he was just that, and
right.
They do this a lot, and I don't, and I'm with you, Josh. I think that what happens is fans that are typically in the I don't want to label NXT fans or this fans or whatever. I do like to say the more hardcore wrestling fans. It's a subconscious thing that once we get a talent to NXT, we think that that's the name they're going to keep, that's the character they're going to keep, that's everything they're going to keep, without realizing that that's still catered more towards the intimate hardcore fan versus once they get to the main roster. I know people don't like that term, or Raw or SmackDown, and it's for a much wider audience. Elias didn't work in NXT at all, and you can't tell me he's not one of the top guys on SmackDown now, as we could say. He's an attraction every time, any show that he's on. So we could go back and forth, with Alexa Bliss. How much better?
Lacey Evans.
Yeah, you know what I mean? We could go back and forth about people that made it or people that didn't make it, or name changes, this or that or the other thing. I just think at the end of the day, I think it's because, even though we don't want to admit it, and I'm saying we, I don't think this way, but I'm saying we, just to include myself in the wrestling echo chamber here. I think that we do see, as soon as we get somebody to NXT that we love, like when we got Finn Balor, like we that and I'm using Balor as the example because he did carry over his popularity onto the main roster. He doesn't use the demon gimmick as much because, and I realized this at Mania, it kind of, as much as I love it, it doesn't make sense as much anymore. It doesn't feel right with him. And I love the Balor demon gimmick. I love Balor either way, but it kind of didn't make sense. It seemed like I see why they don't use it as much. We'll see.
Plus, when Balor was the demon in New Japan, he was always the bad guy.
Correct.
Demon, you're channeling the most inner, distasteful part of yourself inside. That's what you're showcasing. So it could be a turnoff in ways where you're just doing it as a bad guy, just to, okay, I need to go to this point just to beat that person. I wouldn't say it's something that makes it diminishes him, because I think that's a dumb way to look at it. Finn Balor is excellent as a performer in the ring or whatever, but from a character standpoint, I always thought that Balor is, the whole demon persona is way more when you're a bad guy.
Yeah. Oh, agreed.
He calls himself a villain for a reason.
Right. And so that's, I guess, my take on that is I think Josh did. It's more so that whether people, like I said, whether people realize it or not, they, and they want to say that, oh, NXT isn't WWE, or it is, but it's better. It's this, but we're whenever somebody hits NXT, we think, yep, they made it, and this is how they're going to be. This is how, I can't wait till this character is on, Raw or SmackDown, not realizing that it's still developmental and they're still working on them, their characters, their movesets, they're just everything. So that when they get to the main roster, they're going to be different. Everyone's going to be slightly different when they get to the main roster. Period. End of story. And if you can't handle a simple name change, stop. Just
stop. They got a cool hashtag for the Viking Experience that I think you would like. It's hashtag join the raid.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I like that. I'm down with that. That was Superstar Shakeup here, and I'm gonna list the superstars that switched first, and then we'll dive into each Raw and SmackDown. So, here is talent that is officially on Monday Night Raw now. We have The Miz, Ricochet, Aleister Black, Eric Young being split away from Sanity. Eric and Ivar, the Viking Experience, the Usos, Naomi, EC3, Andrade with Zelina Vega, Rey Mysterio, Lacey Evans, and Cedric Alexander. I shouldn't call him Ced like I know him. Cedric Alexander are Monday Night Raw. On SmackDown, we have Roman Reigns, Finn Balor, Elias, Chad Gable, Bailey, Ember Moon, Kairi Sane, Apollo Crews. I was going to say Apollo Crews, but it's just Apollo or Apollo Crews or whatever he is this week. Lars Sullivan has been showing, rearing his ugly head on both shows, but he is officially a SmackDown talent. Buddy Murphy is getting the call up. I saw Liv Morgan got the call over to SmackDown, which puts the question mark on the Riot Squad, probably ends that. Mickey James going to SmackDown. And then Otis and Tucker, Heavy Machinery, and some pretty ladies over on SmackDown Live. So that's how that shook down. Josh, before we break them down, who do you think was the winner between the two, Raw, SmackDown? Just because that's what people like to do is compare and banter. You pick a winner, Raw or SmackDown.
For me personally, I thought Raw was the winner because they had big stars, but I felt like there could have been more feuds from the mid card and tag team division. If you look at the tag division right now for Monday Night Raw, you got the Revival, you got the Viking Experience, Ricochet, Aleister Black. I could list more tag teams. Hawkins and Ryder have been doing a good job so far. Since they got more time on TV recently. So you add that to the list. Whenever Authors of Pain come back, I think it was good for Raw to get more tag teams and more mid-card guys as opposed to relying on the bigger stars that SmackDown got later on. Don't forget Samoa Joe's going to go to Monday Night Raw now since he's United States champion.
So, wait, so say that last part again?
Samoa Joe's going to go to Monday Night Raw now since he's the United States champion. He was supposed to be there, but they had travel issues. That's why he wasn't on the show on Monday.
I did not know that. Okay, and what's funny, I actually got this list from WWE.com, so their own website isn't even correct there. So Samoa Joe going to the Raw side too. That's big. That's big for Raw. I'm trying to look through some things that I thought were pretty that stood out to me a little bit.
I'm happy for Cedric and Buddy Murphy, though. It's pretty cool that they got called up.
I am too. I'm happy that the 205 Live guys are not being pigeonholed down there. I'm glad that I hate to say developmental guys. I know, because it's just a different style of wrestling. It's a different, but we know that typically Raw and SmackDown is the land of the giants, as they say, or that's the knock, even though it doesn't seem to be that way anymore. And I think that's what's driving nuts. I'm happy for guys like Ali. I'm happy for guys like Ced Alexander. I'm happy for guys like Buddy Murphy. I like that they're bringing them up because it shows that they understand the pulse of as much as the wrestling echo chamber claims that they don't. They do see and understand the pulse of what's going on in wrestling. There's just a process with WWE. They can't make the split decisions that independent companies or small, there's a longer process when it comes to WWE. So I like what they're doing with that because there is a lot of talent on 205 Live. I do think that they get a huge disservice because they do have some great talent. So, and I think I want 205 Live to be a place where, Josh, I want your opinion on this. I want 205 Live to be a place where guys aren't, where talent, I should say, isn't afraid to go to for fear of being pigeonholed in that division. You know what I mean? Because a guy like, let's say Marty Scurll, for example, the villain, who knows what WWE would have done with him? NXT, Raw, SmackDown, or 205 Live, right? Why take that risk when you could go to an All Elite and be plugged into some of the main storylines, right off the cuff, or stay at a Ring of Honor, I think that showing that you can almost, I hate to use the term graduate from 205 Live up to a Raw and a SmackDown shows it can be just as important as NXT. Josh, your opinion?
I agree with that. I mean, down the road, say like performers like Joey Janela or MJF or some of these other bigger, technically good wrestlers. It's not only high flyers now. I mean, 205 has done a good job of showcasing more brawlers like Oni Lorcan and Drew Gulak on the shows recently. It's not just the high flyers. Like a guy who's in Lucha Underground, Killshot, Shane Strickland. He just joined the Performance Center. a guy like him or ACH who joined the Performance Center as well. Like those guys, yeah, you could assume that they'll be just 205 Live guys, but those guys could also be on Raw or SmackDown down the road. So even if you had a guy like Hangman Page, for example, a lot of people have a lot of stock into him. He could do 2 or 3 months at 205 Live and then be a big acquisition for whatever shakeup it is. I don't think anybody could be pigeonholed at this point. Hell,
I think it depends on what kind of shape he's in. Is he in full gear shape? If he's in full gear, he goes straight to the main roster. I mean, it's all about.
I agree with you.
I'm working on my full gear shape for this summer. Hangman inspired me. I got to get in full gear shape. My daughter and I have a plan set up. There's a certain day that we got to get in. We're getting in full gear for.
There's guys in Impact called the Rascals. By the way, I didn't know you could have the Rascals faction group, even though they did that in WWF back then. But yep, you got Trey Miguel, Zachary Wentz, and Desmond Xavier. A lot of guys. Pete Wentz.
Hey, Michael Nakazawa.
I met Pete Wentz before, actually.
I'm sorry. Or I don't know. I don't know how to answer that one, or I don't know how to respond to that one.
Yeah, you had the right expression.
Yeah, that was that. Nothing against them. There were. I was into some email, but that wasn't me.
Next.
On to the next one. You know what? For me, I'm going to look at it to see who the winner is here. See Samoa Joe being tossed on there. Thank you for that addition. That's a big one for me. And it's the unique thing right now, Josh, is that we can't say, well, this women's division won over this women's division, because right now the titles are back and forth. We got Becky 2 belts, so she's got both titles, so she's on both shows. Just kind of looking down right now.
I feel bad for Nia. She's having ACL surgery, so she's gonna be out for the rest of the year.
That sucks. I'm gonna say Raw as well. Man, this is a tough one because you get Styles, Miz, Joe. That's big. The Usos are huge. Naomi, I think, is fantastic. I think Naomi's so underutilized.
I'm going to give it a couple of months with the women, because with Becky 2 belts and then you have the women's tag titles.
Exactly.
Both shows, it's going to be kind of hard to gauge with that.
And I think Ricochet and Aleister Black, they're not going to stay a tag team long. They'll go and they'll be singles competitors. On the SmackDown side, I think Elias puts a nice bold energy into your show. I think Balor puts a nice bold energy in your show. I think this gives Bayley a better audience to try and, even though it's the same audience, maybe kind of, nights of the week, especially when they move to Fridays, it might be a little bit different. I love Ember Moon and Kairi Sane going over there. I think that'll help, that the SmackDown side on the women's side. Liv Morgan too. I do think Liv's going to be good on her own. That's why, and I think Mickie James is a nice veteran presence to have on that side as well too. So I kind of think, I actually usually go, well, this sucks or this is good. I don't mind any of the shakeup whatsoever. I like that EC3 got caught up, and don't look to. I saw everyone saying, "What's the sense?" And I don't want to say I saw like one tweet. Oh, you're gonna bury EC3 after one night? No. Was he on the show? Yeah.
It's the Braun Strowman spot of the show.
It's the Strowman moment, right? Don't we talk about it? I've been calling this for 2 years now. It's the Strowman moment. If you're a part of the Strowman moment, again, it's one of those. It's one of those moments in the show that is imperative that they want you to see. So him being in that didn't destroy him. It's called selling. If that was the case, then people like Kofi Kingston wouldn't still be around, because he's been selling for people for a hell of a long time and not. But yet now he's finally WWE champion. So sometimes, guys, you just got to do your job, and that is doing the job. I just don't think people understand that. Be selfless, not selfish. That's what you need to go in as we ride out 2019 into 2020. Let's go selfless, not selfish. What did you like from the shows this week, Josh? As far as like on the Raw side and SmackDown side?
I thought it was cool that Rude and Gable are gonna split. Not because I didn't like the tag team. I just think Rude is better as a singles like heel bad guy. So as far as moves are concerned, that's one that stood out to me. But as far as the shows are concerned, the stuff with Sami Zayn over the last couple weeks has been phenomenal.
It's great.
playing them like a fiddle. You're mentioning the whole dance that he does.
He skanks. See, I know. Well, I always talk about it on the show. When you dance to ska music, it's called skanking. Thank you, Corey Graves, for finally explaining it to the WWE universe, because I'm a peon, and even though I am educating them, I am trying, as the Steel City savior, I am trying to educate. But sometimes you need a little bit stronger of a Pittsburgh voice, and the savior of misbehavior it has that upper echelon level on top of me. So thank you, Corey Graves, for finally letting people know what skanking is, because everybody always talks about the 90s. And the 90s was such a great thing and this and that. The 90s also gave us skanking. So not saying it's a bad thing. I used to listen to a lot of ska. But yeah.
I felt like I was getting personally trolled by the number of times I played that damn theme song.
It was so great.
But I love nonetheless, I do love what Sami Zayn's doing. It's just some really good stuff from his promo work recently. Happy that Alexa Bliss will still be on Raw.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime I see Alexa Bliss on the show, she's gonna get a bigger spotlight. I thought that was some of the biggest takeaways I had from the women shows. Alexa Bliss is gonna be back in the spotlight before you know it, so I'm happy for that. Let's see. I really like that 8-man tag match they had, even with the Viking Experience. And that's kind of one of the biggest parts of me that bothered me with the whole social media cry fest that happened over that. Because we had a really awesome tag match that was going on, an 8-man tag, and you're still stuck on a name that actually fits their characters, but you want to say and cry about how it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I wasn't.
That's what bothered me.
I wasn't watching live or anything like that, but I popped when they came out, and I didn't, and then they were like, "Oh, the Viking Experience," and they gave the names and stuff like that. But for me, it was still like, we were just talking last week on the show, Josh. Like, that's a tag team that we could see that would make an instant impact, right? They're that school tag team, kind of like a, you hate to make comparisons, but they do remind me a lot of like a Legion of Doom, like, but what they do, you do not expect out of two men of that size. And they're like a high flying Legion of Doom in a way. And I really thought that this is a tag team that would appeal to old school fans and new school fans alike. So them getting the call up, I popped. Couldn't care less what they call them.
By the way, if you loved what War Machine and Ricochet and Aleister Black did at Takeover a couple weeks ago, you're gonna like it much more on Monday Night Raw now.
Right.
The most must see. Hey, Miz is back on Monday Night Raw. I figured that was gonna be the decision because they got to promote Miz and Mrs. By the way, this week's episode was freaking hilarious.
It was ridiculous. It was so funny.
Maurice's mom is insane. Her talking about sex and stuff. It was funny.
It was so funny.
But yeah, Miz being on Raw is a good choice, and also AJ Styles. I know a lot of people may want to rush Seth Rollins against AJ Styles, but I don't know. Maybe it's something you hold off for SummerSlam. Who knows? But
I was going to say SummerSlam would be nice. Give that time to breathe. I think we have so much in between with Money in the Bank, and there's other people that AJ Styles can compete against. That there's a lot of feuds now that we can see that we haven't seen before.
Yeah, you can have AJ Styles go against Drew McIntyre for now, and this one's gonna bother some people, but don't be surprised if this starts happening. Seth Rollins and Baron Corbin. I'm surprised.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about Corbin a little bit later. I thought he's been doing. Listen, people can hate, but Baron Corbin, in my opinion, over the past year, from WrestleMania 34 to 35 on, I think has not that he was bad or anything like that before. That's not what I'm saying, but I think he's the most noticeable person on the roster as far as finally growing into their character, feeling comfortable with their character.
Correct.
Really owning it. And like the development over the past year, it was almost like his, and again, listen, not anything against him beforehand because he was still an awesome talent. He was getting heat. It just, something wasn't clicking. And then when they moved him to Raw, they did the whole, I forget the title now, even though I was making sure that I always remember the title. But whenever he was the acting general manager of Raw and all these little, like, whatever titles, and then even threw it through WrestleMania, I just thought he's really come into his own, and it's good to see. I mean, it's really good to see. And again, he's another one of those guys that everyone says, "Oh, the locker room's in shambles." Seems like it seems like he's one of the guys that's right there to always stick up for the locker room, and that's something that I think people in the locker room, men and women, both appreciate. So I think Corbin's been fantastic, and if you've been booing him, that proves that he's been fantastic.
And the Usos on Raw as well.
Love having the Usos on Raw. That's why I brought them up. I love more Usos the better, in my opinion. You know what? I actually like EY split away from Sanity a little bit too.
Yeah, me too.
Just because I don't know. Sanity, it was one I didn't think was going to work on the main roster. I like Eric Young. I was never into Sanity other than Nikki Cross.
Yeah, me too. SmackDown, the Big O, man. The Big O.
Yeah, let's talk about the Big O, which is funny in itself. Almost as funny as like, my daughter texted me the other day, whatever, I was about getting out of the shower, getting ready to do something or whatever. We always just prank each other, texting each other. She texted me, she was like, "You're just a top guy doing top guy things." And I want to text back, like in 10 years, you're going to know just how funny about 10 years, whatever you just texted me was. It's a revival thing. Like you'll know how extremely funny that truly was. But no, where were we at before that?
The Big O, man.
The Big O. So that is a joke within itself that we could go with. But it was cool to see Owens play babyface in his hometown, kind of playing in the crowd. It was fun to see this side of him. Where Sami Zayn, you kind of got the same thing with the but then you guys aren't worth it. I love Sami Zayn's sign off now. See you in hell. I do love that, but
I love the part. He's like, I'm not gonna accept it. Nope. Yep. I'm not going for it.
Yep. So I thought that this was interesting because typically it's Sami Zayn that's getting the hometown pop. The true baby face the whole way through, and it's Kevin Owens that gets the hometown pop until he has to turn, and then usually it turns into a bigger pop because fans, we love when we get talked about. So but on the flip side of it, like, no, I loved having Kevin Owens as the honorary member. Miss Big E though, man, there's something that doesn't feel right, I'll admit, not having Big E there and having all of New Day there.
Brother Carter's gonna be feeling down about it.
Yep. What's that?
New Day is Brother Carter's favorite group. We all know that for doing shows with him. That boy loves to feel the power.
That makes sense. He seems like a unicorn guy to me. He's gonna get me next week for that one. And you know what? So I guess looking back and forth, I mean, I was highly entertained by both shows. I thought the surprise. Every segment felt like there was a surprise, or there was, or there was something going on. Again, I fast forward through lull moments, some of the longer matches, things of that nature. If I know a match is going to go a couple commercial breaks or something, we kind of get through it a little quicker. But I was pleased with both shows. I didn't have a problem with either one. And I did like that constant surprise factor of, and just because they were on Raw doesn't necessarily mean they weren't going to show up on SmackDown and be exclusive to SmackDown after being on Raw one last time too. So I did like that. And I do think it was important. And right before I get back to you, Josh, we all knew it was probably Roman going to SmackDown. Great troll job having Elias come out first.
Yes.
I think it was important with Ambrose leaving to have Rollins and Reigns on different shows so that we can just move on from that as well. Because sometimes as fans, it is our fault. We do need to move on from certain things. CM Punk, we need to keep moving on. You know what I mean? Like seriously, there's just certain things that we need to move on from. And I think now they could be on separate shows. We can finally put the Shield to rest.
Yes, sir. I'm pumped that Roman's on SmackDown. Some matches that I'm excited for him to have. Another round with Kevin Owens, Daniel Bryan. I don't know where he's been missing in action the last couple weeks. I don't know if he got injured or not, but hopefully not.
He's probably cutting trees somewhere. Something. Doing something better than we're doing.
Making
the world a better place. Just because he lost the WWE Championship does not mean he's still not the Earth's champion. Okay, so
the planet.
He's fighting the good fight out there.
Fighting the good fight. Yeah, I'm excited for Roman. You got some other matches like Randy Orton here and there. Other matches that maybe we haven't seen with Roman yet on the show. I heard Busted Open and talking about, this is gonna be the case where Kofi's gonna be a transitional champion, and then Roman's gonna be the champion when they go to to Fox. And it could happen. I'm not gonna say it's not gonna happen. It's not an idea that won't happen, but
when are they going to Fox?
October, starting October 4th.
Oh, Kofi is dropping that title well before then. I mean, it's there. I agree that Kofi's transitional. I agree. I think this one's a little bit different. It's not necessarily.
They had an argument about they want Kofi to be the face of SmackDown and not Roman, and I thought that's not the takeaway to have for him being on the show. I think him on a different type of show, who knows what his intentions are as far as him going after titles automatically out of the gate. Who knows? So,
well, I mean, who knows what WWE has planned? But I mean, I think that again, we're going from we didn't even a week out. People of WrestleMania, people were complaining that Kofi wasn't going to be in the main event, even though, come on, we knew he was going to be in the championship match, even though we knew he was going to be in a championship match.
Right.
We're already writing him off as a transitional champion only because of Roman Reigns, and this is what drives me nuts. Nothing against anybody. Listen, anybody that's on any other platform is much better than I am. But I just think that when you're already basing your fears, and I'm using that term so loosely because it's comical to use in a wrestling format, your fears of Roman Reigns causing Kofi to become a transitional champion, we were lucky to get Kofi as WWE champion. It should have happened a long time ago. We were lucky, and I'm gonna talk about that a little bit later on. But I didn't think Kofi was going to hold this title for more than maybe 2 months anyway. So I didn't see it, and I don't look at it as transitional. You know, Chris Jericho being the first ever undisputed champion, you could argue that he was transitional till Triple H came back from injury. But at the same time, it was also a historical reign, good, bad, indifferent. It was a historical reign that led into somebody else's. Kofi's is very similar. I feel like it's a historical reign, no matter how you want to look at it. I saw the human emotion afterwards, and that told me, especially, you know, Kofi's family from you know, and where he came from in West Africa, because this is something we really need to think about. Has anyone, and I don't know this, Josh, this is the first time since WrestleMania 3 that a non-North American talent is main evented WrestleMania, right? In Becky Lynch.
Correct. Yep.
Andre was the last. Now, Andre didn't win, though, correct?
No.
So Becky Lynch is the first non-North American to ever win a main event at WrestleMania, right?
Correct.
Kofi Kingston is the first naturally born African to win a WWE championship, correct?
Yes.
It's historical, guys. It's not about being black in America.
Yeah.
It's not about, you know what I mean? It's, you know, with The Rock being biracial. You know, it's totally different. And I love what The Rock says. He transcends race, because that's what we should all do, transcend race. But this isn't somebody that was born in America. This is somebody that was born in Ghana, West Africa. This is a big deal, whether people realize it or not, on the grandest stage of them all. You know, so I think that call Kofi transitional in a traditional form, Josh, I see the point and I get it. This is where I can always like see both, you know, through both lenses.
Here's what it stems from. This is what it stems from. It stems from people putting all their eggs in the chase basket.
Correct. Yeah.
And once you get what you want, you look at fear as transitional being a demotion. You know, you got the moment what you wanted. So let's see what happens. Let's not rush to conclusions. Let's see what happens.
And a lot of times,
whether Kofi and Becky have short title reigns or not, I really don't care. But let's see what happens.
And I think it's important to see how the title reign runs too, because I'll admit there's a lot of my favorites that I mark for that I prefer not to have titles, because I think their programs are a little more entertaining when a championship isn't involved, because they're better entertainers. Some people need a championship because that has to be the story. There's
Correct.
Talents, men and women, you know, it doesn't matter that they're talented. They don't need something around their waist for us to be engaged in the story. So I think it's going to be, you know, Kofi is so compelling without a championship. Him just getting the honor, to me, is good enough. I don't care about transitional. I don't care, you know, the historical nature of it, the fact that it finally happened, just all the emotional, you know, outfall from, or, you know, the fallout from it. Outfall. See, I'm even having a rough week. But I look at those things. I'm not looking at time frames, because just like nobody really cares that Zack Ryder was IC champ for what, a day, 2 days, a couple years ago. We still pop that he was champ because we didn't see it coming. So again, I don't think we don't go back and talk about how Chris Jericho was a transitional undisputed champion. We just talk about him being the first ever undisputed champion, who, by the way, defeated Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock in the same night. We don't talk about how he won, transferring this into Becky Lynch, because Becky Lynch with the crucifix roll up. Everyone complaining about that. We becoming Becky 2 belts, first time those 2 belts have been unified, indirectly. When Jericho won undisputed championship, it was because of Booker T.
Right.
There was interference. So we never sometimes get the finish that you want in these moments, but we still are going to go back. We're going to talk about Kofi Kingston winning the championship. It's not going to be about him being transitional. It's not going to be about how many months he held the championship. It's going to be about him achieving that ultimate dream and finally breaking down some barriers for a lot of people and really shattering the glass for a lot of men and women out there right now. So I think that is the way to look at it versus transitional, because would it have been better for him just not to have the title at all?
Right.
And we have to see how much they sustain, right, Josh? I mean, because right now without Big E there, I mean, the New Day is a unit, right? The New Day is a total unit.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, and I think what's gonna be interesting about this is just, when I remember when they had CM Punk, Zack Ryder, Cody Rhodes, their Air Boone at the time, Kofi Kingston and Evan Bourne, and
Right.
Beth Phoenix as a champion. They had that collage of champions. They're like, okay, we're in the hardcore fans era of title reigns, and all of them ended up losing the title one way or another besides Punk. And then here we are right now. We got Finn Balor as the IC champion. We got Samoa Joe's US champion, Becky 2 belts, Kofi Kingston and Seth Rollins as champions. Ironically, Kurt Hawkins tag champions, and then you got the Hardys.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Hardys.
Hey, you know what? And Matt, we didn't get to talk enough about this. Good on Matt Hardy, man, because from going to he never known if he's going to be able to wrestle again to, dude, my man is looking like Attitude Era Matt Hardy again. Like Matt Hardy. It's so good to see that.
I like he's bringing out the old outfits.
I love it. Yeah, I love it. I mean, but you could tell that he's in. I don't want to say that he wasn't in good shape, because dude's always going to be in better shape than me. But you could tell that he's trimmed down a little bit. You could tell that he looks 10 years younger, in my opinion. I don't know. But good. Yeah, he deleted them years away. Somehow, I could delete 10 years away. So let's go to any other takeaways from Raw and SmackDown.
I really like Asuka and Kairi Sane being partners for Paige. Some people are like, oh, Asuka needs somebody to speak for her to help get her character over. Well, here you go. You got Paige. I'm happy that she's gonna be part of the show more often now that she's not the GM, but something for her to sink her teeth into. And I think Asuka and Kairi Sane they have my vote of approval, if it even means anything as far as them being the tag team. I think they'll do a good job at this. So besides that, man, anytime when Vince McMahon gets laid down on the floor, the crowd pops. So I always get a kick out of that. Yeah.
And listen, real quick, I wanted to talk about what Vince is the ultimate seller, the ultimate overseller of like what pro wrestling or sports entertainment, whatever. Listen, everyone kept saying, like they were talking about it there. We were kind of talking about it here. So I'm sure online it was talked about. The look on Vince's face before he took the Superman punch was so classic. But so classically Vince McMahon, right? I mean, that's just because if it ain't campy, it ain't Vince. It has to be like where we always say, I just said, if you're at a 10, you turn yourself up to a 13, 14, that's your character. Vince makes sure he turns himself up to like a 60 all the time. And that's
right, pal.
Now that's what makes him great, right? That's what makes him so great. I mean, it's the over exaggerated facial expressions, I believe, are a lost art. Rollins does it very well. There's always in a world of memes and gifs and whatever, that's something that you're going to end up looking goofy, and you're never going to live it down. But that to me is pro wrestling. That's old school, whatever, pro wrestling, sports entertainment, however, whatever you want to call it. So
who's good at that? The Miz.
Absolutely. Very good at that. Little Crimson coming from the Miz this week.
Yeah, man. Busted open.
Yeah, Didn't see that coming. So, all right. So now what we're gonna do is I am going to mute my mic real quick. I'm gonna pass it over to Josh while he gives one quick thought. We're gonna bring. I'm gonna unmute my mic. I'm gonna grab the real star of the show. Actually, we don't even have to do it. She heard it. She heard it going on. She could hear my voice traveling. So. We're gonna do, you guys know, so that's everything about the Superstar Shakeup, guys. If you have anything that tell us your thoughts about it. Tweet at us. Go to Josh's Instagram at the Hoots Podcast. Let us know what you think of who won Raw, SmackDown, if there is a winner, or just what talent you're excited to see on what show. If you think that Finn Balor going to SmackDown is fantastic and you can't wait to see what he's going to do, let us know. If you think the Miz finally being back on Raw, the A-lister going to the A show, the Usos going over to Raw, whatever you think. Samoa Joe going to Raw is to me is a big deal. That's huge right there. But what we're going to do is something that we do 5 times a year. So this is a special one of our 5. We can't call it quarterly anymore. Because they do, we're really counting Money in the Bank as one of their big 5 now, because Survivor Series is kind of like hit or miss, but because of timing, Survivor Series makes sense too. And it's just follow us on this one. Don't question it. Just go with it.
Just go with it.
But so what we're doing for this segment is we're going to add to this. Typically, this is where Josh and I go back and forth and we talk about the top 5 talents, storylines, maybe events that we really dug from big WWE event to big WWE event. And it does not have to be WWE related, guys. So we're going from the Royal Rumble until WrestleMania. What we think are our top 5, what we found was most interested in. Josh and I typically do this. This time, this week, this month, we are bringing in my lovely daughter AJ we're making this wrestling through a 9-year-old's eyes. And so that. Yes, you're already jumping the gun before your intro. And yes. But I thought this would be a fun one to bring her in on, because Josh, you and I, we're kind of different levels with, I don't want to say different levels, but I grew up during 80s wrestling. You grew up kind of late 90s, early 2000 wrestling, and AJ is growing up right now in this current age of wrestling.
The best wrestling ever.
The best wrestling ever.
Yes.
That's you're already convinced. That's
the best wrestling ever.
You most certainly are already an internet mark.
Well, if it's the man, then it's the best.
Since
you won't get an argument for me.
I got it. So, but guys, this is where we count down. We start with number 5 and we kind of go up from there. Let's start with the young lady, Josh. Let's start. So AJ, who do you have as your number 5? And we go from 5 to 1. So your number 1, obviously we're gonna go last. But who do you have at number 5?
Number 5 is wrestling.
Is wrestling in general?
It's just my number 5 is just wrestling in general.
I like it.
Nice.
Just wrestling.
I can't disagree. It's been. Do you want to embellish on that a little bit?
Sorry.
As you're working through some bronchitis.
Wrestling is just wrestling. You wouldn't be doing this podcast. Josh wouldn't be doing this podcast. Neither would I be right here without wrestling.
Right. That is true. It's like air. We need it to breathe.
You wouldn't be wearing the shirt that you have on right now, the Specky shirt, unless wrestling.
Yeah, right. Just it's wrestling.
Yeah.
Just wrestling is wrestling.
Yeah.
If anyone is that I don't you know what the funny part is about that is, we've tried to wax poetic all these times about how this is the greatest era in wrestling, or why this is good, and it's such a great time to be, simply put, through a 9-year-old's mouth. It really is. That's the most simplistic form and the most. Well, it's just wrestling is just wrestling, because when it's good, and she's right. Would we be doing this right now if wrestling was in a lull? If the business was dying? No, we wouldn't be. So I think it was a good quarter for wrestling. So good call. I like it. I like it. Josh, who did you have as your number 5?
My number 5 is the final run for Batista in the WWE.
Big Dave. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna give a shout out to Big Dave. Growing up watching Batista, literally from the start of his career to what happened at WrestleMania, I loved it. A lot of, I thought it was poetic wrestling justice for it to go out the way he did, as opposed to what happened 4 years ago when he first came back. So everything that Big Dave did before WrestleMania in the match he had with Triple H is that'll be my number 5.
Yeah, that number 5. Number 5 for me, and that's a good one, by the way, too. We're all going to miss Big Dave in Guardians of the Galaxy 45.
Yeah, that's probably gonna happen.
My number 5, I got the Beast Slayer, Seth Rollins. I put him at 5 only because this is not reflective of Seth Rollins. I think that from the Rumble until now, Rollins, we were waiting for the moment. We hoped the moment would happen. They started WrestleMania, right out of the gates, giving us Rollins winning the Universal Championship off of Lesnar. It's something that we were all hoping for. I don't want to say us all, because there were some of us, I think, that kind of would have enjoyed seeing the internet freak out if Lesnar would have held on to it. But
Yes.
there's a lot of us that I think have felt that Seth has been the guy and has deserved this title. We're just fans, though. Listen, we're not in the locker room. We don't know what goes on. But the only reason why I have it at number 5 and maybe not higher is between kind of like the injuries and, again, Brock not really wrestling, being there on a week-to-week basis or appearing on a week-to-week basis, and you can only get payments so much. It didn't really have as much continuity as some WrestleMania storylines had. That's the only reason why I put it at number 5. But from going to win the Royal Rumble, leading up to the Rumble, he was one of the hottest performers, in wrestling. But then for him to come out of WrestleMania as new Universal Champion, bring the title back onto the show on a regular basis, I think that's hugely important. So Seth Rollins is getting my number 5. But I have to toss out there my honorable mentions this time are Hangman Page and the great Corey Graves, because Corey Graves is always going to be on my list somewhere. But because it's been so jam-packed full, and he's going to be proud of my list. I don't think Mr. Graves is going to be disappointed in the reason why he got left off the top 5. But Hangman Page and Graves is going to be my alternates on this one. So
my honorable bench is going to be all the SCU segments on being the elite.
SCU. What about you?
My honorable mention I'm gonna save for before number 1.
Okay. Oh, I got it. I like it. So since we already have you, give us your number 4.
Okay, my number 4 is the Superstar Shakeup, because you never really know what you're going to get.
It's like a box of chocolates in a way.
Yes, you never know what you're gonna get at all. Like, you don't know if you're gonna get someone from NXT or someone from 205 Live or someone switching shows. I mean, someone could have went to NXT and they were on the main roster. It would have never happened, but it could have.
Right.
Like, you really never know. Someone could come from the main roster to 205 Live or like NXT to 205 Live. You really never know.
Sooner than later, that'll probably happen.
Yeah.
I wish Pete Dunne would have gotten shifted around somewhere.
Yes. That's
time.
exactly what
in
I
time.
think.
Patience, like everything. Now I'm sounding like the internet mark, right?
Yes. Patience, grasshopper. Yes.
But the Superstar Shakeup, I like that. So right now you kind of went, I like that. So you already went with wrestling, just wrestling in general. Superstar Shakeup, I like that. Josh, who do you have at number 4?
My number 4 is not a person, but the G1 Supercard show.
Okay.
Ooh, nice.
I had a lot of fun transcribing that show, mostly for the New Japan part of it. But if you haven't seen the Ring of Honor ladder match, Matt Taven, Jay Lethal, and Marty Scurll, you definitely missed it out. So G1 Supercard would be number 4 for me.
I liked it. It was a good event too. I did like that. And I think, you know what, to add on to that, Josh, a good reason to put that as number 4 is, again, we keep beating it to death. First time a non-WWE show was at MSG in 60 some years. You just look at the historical value on that too.
Before all of us were born.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So my number 4 is I actually have all talent this time. My number 4 is coming from All Elite Wrestling. He's just fall to the earth kind of guy, just a real nice, just genuine, just salt to the earth, just the guy that you want on your side. And I'm speaking of MJF. I'm not gonna lie, man. His segments. I'm not a big Joey Janela guy. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I mean, I get it. I just don't like it. You know what I mean? I think Joey Janela has a ton of potential. I'm not knocking Joey Janela himself. Just the whole gimmick of the 80s slob rocker of it just doesn't do it for me.
Too much bro for me too.
Well, you know what? That's an era that I don't.
Has bro elements into it.
Well, it has excess. I think is the best way, because when you think about the 80s, you think of excess, and I think of when you look at whether it's pro wrestling or rock and roll, we've lost a lot of people way too early because of excess. Not saying that can't be evolved into a character. It's just that he kind of looked like he teleported from the 80s, and it was almost too real. So I think that So again, it wasn't anything against Joey Janela. Actually, I am digging Joey because you could tell that he's going to be entertaining once he finds his niche. I just, didn't dig what they were doing with him before. Now, on the flip side of it, though, what they're doing with MJF, I think is fantastic. I think it reminds me of a younger Miz, and I know we don't like comparisons, guys, but it really does remind me of that. Just I love them this snide comment, asinine style of heel, like the AKA early on, like the late 90s Chris Jericho, and the like old school, like the like WCW style Jericho, or early to whenever Miz, or things, I pick a time in Punk's career, or whomever. I've always been a fan of those types of antagonists. So MJF is one of the guys in All Elite right now that I already have my eye on, that I can't wait to see perform on a regular basis. So
cool.
AJ, who do we got at number 3?
So number 3 for me is actually 2 things, because they all tie into one.
Okay.
Is the Full Gear Challenge,
okay,
plus Hangman Page.
All right, so
because they all go into one.
Like Adam Page, So what do you like about the Full Gear Challenge?
The Full Gear Challenge. I love the logo.
You love the jokes too, don't you?
I love the jokes. I love the logo. I love the segments on Being the Elite about it. It's just amazing. It just deserves number 3.
I actually, if I may, I actually like that it inspired other people to try and get in shape,
yes,
or to try and actually be a little bit more active. Like,
yes, that's how one segment can make and like have almost 1 million people doing something.
Yep, there's an influence, and we're going to talk about that when we talk about at least my number 1. We're going to talk about an influence on pop culture, and yes, this hasn't transcended yet, but you've seen a lot of people doing the Hangman Page, Full Gear Challenge, which it's never a bad thing, right? And it doesn't matter where you get your inspiration from, or your motivation from, or whatever, to do anything or to make yourself better. So I keep saying it. Listen, before Pride this year, I keep telling my daughter, before we go to Pride, I gotta get in full gear shape. We're out. We're gonna be there. I gotta get in full gear, right? Full gear for Pride. There we go.
Full gear.
So there we go.
Full gear. Woo,
so we got on AJ's list, we got Hangman Adam Page, big time, really gaining a lot of popularity in All Elite.
yes.
Josh, who do you have as number 3?
My number 3 is going to be Kofi Mania.
Yes, nice. Sir. Okay. Like to embellish on that?
It's just a cool moment where a guy you wouldn't expect to have a title match at WrestleMania without winning a Royal Rumble or Elimination Chamber actually gets that opportunity and actually wins the title. Nobody will ever be able to take away the fact that Kofi Kingston stole this year's WrestleMania. Him and Danny Bryan, that match especially is why I'm putting it number 3.
I'd say I actually wanted to. I put. We'll talk about that later on. Yeah, I see your point with Kofi. I will wait to talk about Kofi. My number 3.
Yes.
Is I'm actually going Baron Corbin on my number 3. And again, I kind of started. I touched upon it before, but I really think from Rumble till now, and I know people don't like it. People said he didn't deserve the match. People, to me, his promos since Mania have proven exactly why he was the perfect guy for that match. You might not have liked it. You might have thought that, I was one that thought it could have went either way and was fine with it going either way, because I'm a firm believer that you got on your back. So Corbin going over Angle was absolutely made the most sense. I'm also a firm believer in that there are exceptions to every rule, and I think Kurt Angle could have been one of those exceptions. So I was okay with it going either way. I thought it was smart for them, though, to have apparently a mailman here. But I thought it was good for them to have Corbin go over Angle. One, because Angle's that type of guy that wants to put other talent over. That shows the humility that Kurt Angle has and wanting to make the business a better place. 2, this did make the business a better place because it did what we talked about, made Corbin a better, and even not a more believable heel, but for those that weren't buying in before, they better start buying in now. But even like if we want to talk about off stuff, just showing how well he is with the rest of everyone back, how good he is with the men and women in the locker room.
Right.
Important. It's when you're a team player and you're just doing what's asked of you, good things are going to happen. And when I don't want to say loyal because it sounds, because you can be loyal to a fault, but you can tell that Baron Corbin is doing all the right things because he cares about the company. He cares about obviously himself, and he cares about, doing what is right. The fans might not like it, but it's his job to make you hate him, and he's doing a damn good job at it. I've really enjoyed Baron Corbin's work, this entire year so far. So who would have ever thought on these lists that Baron Corbin would end up in my top 3? But you got to give the devil his due. I really am starting to grow in a huge Corbin fan here. So that's where I said I think Mr. Graves would, for one of these, he would be okay with being taken out of my top 5 and being put honorable mention, because I'm sure he's okay with his boy being in the top 3. As if either will ever hear this, you know what I mean? Like, we act like anybody listens to our show.
No one does.
We actually have decent listener stuff.
Yes.
Piper, get down. You'd be surprised how many people are hearing your voice, little girl.
Really?
You would be surprised. So
I'm looking at people on YouTube. I'm very proud
we
about
don't care about YouTube. We only record on YouTube because, to be quite honest, your father just hasn't got all the information over from one computer to the other yet, and it's just easier for us to take this way. So that kind of is where that ties in. But while we're doing that, now we're down to the top 2. Down to our top 2. So, AJ, so from Rumble until now, we're at post WrestleMania. Your number 2.
Okay, so my number 2 is the Earth's champion. I'm going to say his real name instead, Ryan Danielson.
Oh,
which
and talk to us about it.
Which, obviously, Bryan Danielson, you can probably guess, is Daniel Bryan.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Rowan for always representing Pittsburgh on his shirts, too.
Yes, I like that.
And you picked up on his last Pittsburgh shirt before I did. The George Romero shirt.
Yes.
I didn't notice the Pittsburgh flag in the middle.
He had the Pittsburgh flag in the middle, and I asked my father, hey, isn't that the Pittsburgh flag?
Who's your father?
You.
Oh.
My very smart, intelligent father.
I don't know who you're talking about then, because that's not me.
I love Daniel Bryan's gimmick with he's the Earth's champion.
Yeah.
I want his title, his old title. I want it so bad.
I agree. I think a lot of us do. And very good points, very valid points. I like what you said there. Josh, who was your number 2?
I got a 3-pack.
My God, what is this? We just have 5. The top 5 turn into all of a sudden this is Baskin Robbins. We all got 33 flavors. All right.
3 for 1.
Does anybody get a Master P reference in 2019?
Yes.
Probably not, huh? You do. You do because you listen to old school hip hop.
Yes,
right?
I do.
And it's considered old school hip hop now. God.
It's 90s and 80s. I love it.
It's much better than what's going on right now.
I wouldn't go that far with Master P. It didn't age well. We'll say that. But Josh, go ahead. You're number 2.
All right, I'm gonna piggyback what AJ said about the Planet's champion, because I agree with almost every single thing she said. Daniel Bryan's been awesome so far, so he's part of it. Lacey Evans is also added to the mix. I think she has a very, very bright future ahead of her. The fact that she annoys the crowd so much before she wrestled on Raw this Monday, it's been fantastic. I think she has a bright future, and she's been one of the best bad or heel female characters I've seen in the last couple years. So I'm excited for Lacey Evans' future.
Women's right is such a great name for when your finisher's a right hand punch, and it's called the women's right. It's such a great name. Okay, Josh, I'm sorry.
My final one for number 2 will be Sami Zayn, because I feel like I'm cutting these promos on Raw each week. So Sami Zayn will be number 3 for me as well. So Daniel Bryan, Lacey Evans, and Sami Zayn is my number 2.
I only excluded Sami Zayn because I felt he came post WrestleMania, and he'll probably be a part of our next one for me. It's almost like the Grammys and the Oscars, BS like award shows that are out there. Kind of like a cutoff date for me. And Sami Zayn missed the cutoff date by like 1 day. So I am going to kind of piggyback off some things that you guys were talking about. My number 2 is going to be Kofi Kingston. And I absolutely do want to talk about Daniel Bryan, because when I talk about my number 2 and number 1, who they wrestled were just as important as whom I'm naming, because without the story, there would have been no payoff for these characters and these individuals and these athletes. So I want to put that out there first and foremost, because even though I'm saying Kofi Kingston, Daniel Bryan, Eric Rowan have absolutely just as much to do with this. I just think that kudos to Daniel Bryan for showing that he is the ultimate professional. You know, how many guys would have been like, I'm never doing this. There's no way. Daniel Bryan would do this with a smile on his face, knowing that by taking the loss, he's still a part of history. He helped make this happen, you know. Now, we all know that the fans and Kofi's desire and the New Day's popularity over the past couple of years have made this happen. I am putting Kofi at number 2 because back in 2009 when he had that feud with Orton, they probably should have did more with him. I think this was a long time coming. I agree with a lot of other people that said, you know, this should have happened, you know, years before it did happen. Sometimes you can't control the machine, though. Finally, this year, a lot of things happened that allowed us to manipulate the machine, I guess, a little bit. You know what I mean? We kind of got to pull the triggers a little bit. I'd like to think All Elite had something to do with that, not because I'm trying to be a supermark, but because I think that it's important to hear your audience, and I do think that they're hearing their audience. I like the build up every week that it didn't look like, you know, the odds kept getting deeper and deeper and deeper against Kofi because it got people to a fever pitch. And that's what you ultimately want to do. Get people to a point to, I'm not watching this anymore. Then you give them their ice cream and they're like, oh, finally the ice cream that you promised me, right? You have to sometimes treat your audience like children. And this was a perfect example of, especially Kofi hit me from an angle too, because like I said, this affected not only people that I know, like Roy Johnson, this affected, you know, men and women that we've looked up to, like MVP, you know, Mark Henry, guys, men and women in the locker room. When you saw like Tyler Breeze waiting just for Woods and for Kofi and for Big E to get in the back, how many people really cared about Kofi and seeing this happen? And knowing that yes, Kofi won the championship. It was about Kofi because he's kind of been the elder statesman of the group for the longest time. This kind of was New Day's championship, right?
Right.
That's kind of how I'm seeing it. This was the New Day. They can't do it by themselves because they are a unit. And I've always said that Kofi was kind of was the elder statesman. If there was going to be a guy from New Day that wins the championship, it would be him just because of the time. But when it comes to the, you know, I don't even want to say the racial barriers, the ethnic background of the first person, the first WWE each world champion to be born in Africa. I mean, there's a lot of things that we can tie into this. He came in with a Jamaican character, you know what I mean? Let's you know, he's coming
me crazy.
This is Jamaican me crazy. I mean, this is why we shouldn't get that upset about the Viking Experience, you know. Now I don't think it'll take the Viking Experience 11 years to win the tag titles. But I do think that this was, when you look at the amount of money that the New Day has made WWE over the past 5 years, and it's been a lot when it comes to merchandise. You know, every person in that group, I believe, any of the three could have went in and won this championship. I feel like and this isn't to take anything away from Kofi by any means, because there needed to be somebody to do it. But I do think that this was more for the New Day, and this was more for all their contributions over the past couple of years. And just the amount of money that they made the company. And yeah, it had to be Kofi. And for like I said, the emotional and breaking down barrier aspect of it, for me, it's hard to go back and watch it again. And I mean, you know, there was a couple moments at WrestleMania that were emotional. Even the Iconics winning, there you kind of got choked up a little bit, you know. But this one was definitely that emotional moment. And then you see all the footage afterwards of you know, people where Kofi came from in Ghana. You know, individuals all around the globe watching this, just, you know, breaking down into tears, just almost like this albatross being lifted off of somebody's shoulders. Of you know what, now this opens up, you know, even more doors than were already open up. We don't have to be pigeonholed into this style of character. We can be the face of the company, even if it is just for a short period of time. I think there was something so important about this that we won't understand maybe for another 5 to 10 years. But Kofi Mania, I think, was absolutely, you know, you called it Kofi Mania. I'm just calling it Kofi Kingston. But so we're all kind of in the same boat with this. That it absolutely was, and I'm glad that they played it out that way. So whether it's Kofi Mania, Kofi Kingston, however we're doing it, Kofi is my number 2 on that one. Especially when they unveiled the new title and you saw Kofi's name already on the side and Woods is crying and E's crying and everyone's, you know, it was a really, really, really great moment. So now that we all got all of our top 5 out of the way except for our number 1. Now, no one here has our number 1 where it's going to be like multiple people, right? Just number 1.
Yeah.
All right. So let's start with the lady of the house here. Let's start with young AJ. AJ, your number 1 from Royal Rumble to WrestleMania 35. The best thing in your mind about sports entertainment, professional wrestling, and does wherever across the globe.
Well, if you don't mind, is it okay if I can say my honorable mentions?
Oh,
first?
you do have honorable mentions. Yes, you do. Yes,
I
you do.
do. I have the villain, Marty Skrull.
Oh, I like it.
Lacey Evans.
That is true. You're a big Lacey fan.
Yes. And my third honorable mention is also the Becky Lynch and Lacey Evans feud that it looks like they're going for right now.
Right. Which is right. Yeah. I see where you're going. Kind of like the Sami Zayn effect. I guess I'm not including that yet because of. But you get a pass on that because you're not.
I also like it because it's a lady and like that makes herself have to be like she's a lady. And the person who she's the man.
It's the woman versus the man.
Yeah.
Yes, it's poetic.
It's just amazing.
Yeah, it's great.
Now my number one, and you always know, you probably know my number one.
I have a feeling all of our number ones are going to be eerily similar here.
The man, Becky Lynch.
And before, because I have a feeling
let's play a song by The Killers real quick, please.
I wanted a video package. Somebody make a video package to the song called "The Man" by The Killers and Becky Lynch, because that, listening back, that fits her character and mantra and everything perfect. Like WWE, where's it at? Shell out the money.
Just let her win a Money in the Bank. Easy peasy.
Doesn't know she's the man right now. No, she's Josh, who's your number one?
For B-Rob, for Brett Carter, and everybody that's listened to me doing these type of nonsense shows over the last 5 years, my number one is Brock Lesnar losing that damn.
Oh, jeez. You had to dump the internet haterade on, huh?
It is.
It wasn't about something. I mean, granted, it's okay. I guess it's good he dropped it, but it's like, oh, okay. So go ahead.
Yeah, I've been waiting for this moment for 4.5 years now, and I hope I don't have to see that ridiculous sword tattoo on his chest anymore. He can have his UFC fight and probably lose. So Brock Lesnar losing the Universal title at WrestleMania is my number one moment. I marked out. I thought I was going to be messed up for the rest of the night because it threw off my writing schedule for about a couple months because that was a little fan moment I had when Seth Rollins won the title. So Brock Lesnar losing, getting embarrassed at WrestleMania is number one for me.
See, you know what? There's part of me. I'm not gonna lie, brother. I hope someday we're fortunate enough to maybe do a little booth or a little podcast somewhere at one of these, like All In 2 or something like that. Not gonna lie, I would laugh my ass off just to have Lesnar walk up behind you and say, "So, enjoy that title, huh?" And I can't finish that sentence right now, but there would be. I'll admit, I love you, brother, but there would be something just great about that. No, but I agree. Listen, we need that championship back on Raw, and it's nice that it's going to be back on a regular basis, so that a lot of fan base can get back behind it. AJ, I did not cut you off when it comes to Becky, but my number one was also Becky. So I actually thought it was going to be unanimous, and we were just going to have like a roundtable discussion here. Josh, I know we're going to still include you in this, but
yes, sir.
One is absolutely going to be Becky 2 belts, Becky Lynch, going from Royal Rumble till WrestleMania. So first, AJ, I'll let you explain why first, and then I'll put my 2 cents on if there's something else that I want to add on to.
Okay, so the man Becky Lynch, why I love her, why she's my number one, because she's the man. She's just the man.
Because she's the man.
Yeah, she's just literally the man.
You're very descriptive today.
Yes, she's the man. She is awesome, and she's double champion.
Well, let me ask this, because I've noticed that ever since Becky's character changed last fall to the man, or it's SummerSlam, and she really kind of adopted this man, the man mantra, and has really been breaking down gender barriers with the title, the man, and that's something I have noticed that you've really gravitated towards, and you've really kind of like, it's almost been like somewhat of a confidence builder into you, as do you, as a 9-year-old, and the reason why I'm asking you this question, you've always been told wrestling is for boys, or wrestling is a guy's thing, or you can't do this because you're a girl, or different things that you've been told. What does this, for us as adults, as old people, as whatever, we're all stuck in our ways, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
How does it make you feel as a 9-year-old girl hearing, who I know looks up to these men and women that are in the ring. I mean, Finn Balor is another one I could toss out there that I know that you idolize.
Yes.
How does it feel knowing that one of the women that you've constantly, I don't want to say constantly, but you've always supported, you've always been a fan of, is going out there saying, listen, you guys all have it wrong. It's not about gender. It's about being the best, because you've constantly been, and there's a lot of men out there and women, I'm sure, that would have said that women still didn't deserve the main event, or Becky shouldn't, wasn't the right way to go, or.
Well, what the heck? Just stop. That's not fair that women didn't deserve the main event.
I did not say that.
The women absolutely deserve the main event. I'm sorry I raised my voice, but there you go.
There's a lot of hand gestures going on that I don't think people can see.
Definitely deserve the main event. So just shut up, everybody who's saying it's not true. They shouldn't deserve it.
Well, okay,
just stop.
Without the anger side of it. Okay, without the anger side of it, does it mean anything to you? Because the one thing that wrestling gets a knock for is that bad stereotypes. They play in the stereotypes too much. This, that, and the other thing. It's rare that we have a character come along that does transcend not only gender but into pop culture, so that you have people now that in different areas of life now that they're talking. They're not that they didn't use the man before, but they are starting to use the man in a non-gender way, so that they're calling people. What did it used to be before? Like, oh, you're the girl. It always sounded. I always hated at work when it would be like, oh, you're the girl, you're the woman, you're the woman. When like it's just never. It drove me nuts. Like when I used to coach teams, and like my sales team, stuff like that. Whoever was the best, I always called the man. We never, and that was the running joke, was like, yeah, you're the man, So I'm actually on my side of things. I think it was what Becky did, transcending all of these things, and I think I'm saying it just maybe in a more adult way as you're saying it. Yes. I think her transcending not only professional wrestling, not only entertainment, not only she. I don't want to say she became a household name. That might be I don't want to say that's stretching it, but I do think that this caused enough buzz that people wanted to know, who is this? Who is this chick calling herself the man? Or why
Irish woman?
Or why is this woman calling herself the man? You know what I mean? Because you saw people go nuts about, oh, you're a woman. Be proud to be a woman. Be proud to be. It's not about gender. It's a nickname. It's a moniker. It's like it's like the best in the world. That is not mutually exclusive to man or woman. If you're the best in the world, you are the best in the world. It does not matter. If you're the best singer in the world, you're male or female. It doesn't matter. If you're the best drummer in the world, it doesn't matter if you're male or female. So when it comes down to being the man, because we always talk about in sports, right? This is where sports blends with entertainment. In sports, it doesn't matter. When you're at the top, you're always the man. Serena Williams was the man. You know what I mean? Like, totally. I mean, let's just call it like it is.
It just so is.
Also, with this Becky program, though, it is important, I think, that to bring in Ronda Rousey switching to antagonist so quickly and doing such a great job, really laying it on probably thicker maybe than WWE would have liked. And Charlotte kind of playing the in-between buffer, still being able to get heat, so that Becky did look like the ultimate underdog / protagonist at WrestleMania. Otherwise, who knows? I didn't mind the triple threat as much as other people. I actually liked it. I thought it brought a little something to the table. Your wrestling legacy, your wrestling, the wrestling legacy wrestler, your outside superstar that came in to be a wrestler, and then the pure, what are us internet people like to call like the pure wrestler, I guess, like the independent had to really work their way there. Not that Charlotte didn't, not that Ronda did. They did it different ways. So I think, and main eventing WrestleMania being the first, and things that I've outlined earlier, being the first, being a part of the first women's match to ever headline WrestleMania, to win the first women's match to headline WrestleMania, to be the first non-North American born human to win the main event at WrestleMania is a female, guys. It's not a man. It wasn't Andre the Giant. It wasn't
she's the man.
She's the man. And this absolutely is setting up a future of, and I said this before, what Becky Lynch did this year was not just challenge the women's locker room. She challenged the men's locker room to become better, because hands down, the best storyline, period, far and away, was Becky Lynch this year. It's just, that's all there is to it. There's no arguments. There's no debating. Don't at me, as people used to say. Take them elsewhere. Becky Lynch made a heck of a lot of money for this company this year. And it all stemmed from an outside the box idea of people think small, watch me blow their minds. And it worked, and it was effective. And there was a couple little setbacks, injuries, different things like that. But ultimately, I think this broke so many barriers, shattered so many ceilings. You know, I think this did so much more for just not only young women, the women that are currently there now, superstars of the future. It benefited the men's division too, because now they have to step their game up, because the last thing you want, right, as a man, the last thing you want is women main eventing WrestleMania 2 years in a row, right? So it's only gonna, and that's the thing, is it only makes the entire workplace more competitive. It makes it a better environment, and then hopefully we get better storylines. And then next year, I hope there's a healthy debate of this match versus this match. I'd love to hear a match between a men's match and a women's match. The internet argue which match should headline the show. You know, we all knew that this was going to be it this year. We wanted this. I don't think there was anybody that wanted a different match over this. But I can't. Probably, you're right. Yeah, I mean, there's certain. You're right. There's absolutely old dudes still. You know, but I can't wait for the year where we can have a realistic debate on. You know what? Becky Lynch versus Charlotte this year was just as good as Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre. And then have a healthy debate on which one should main event WrestleMania, you know, because those days are coming where we're not going to look at them as divisions by gender anymore. You know, we're still doing that because we're trained to do that. We're going to be looking at it as just divisions, period. Which there's not going to be yes, we're going to see it as women and men. Yeah, I get it. But what I'm saying is we're not going to see it as, well, this is just a women's division match. It doesn't matter anymore. Now we know not only can they main event WrestleMania, watching it a second time and third time, I realized how good that match was, and that finish, how as controversial as it was a great way to end the to end the show. So I don't know. I'm going with Becky 2 belts as my number one. AJ, I think that's I mean, I don't know what you were, I think that's kind of what you're trying to say. Anything? What else Becky did you really like this year?
I just
other than every T-shirt she put out. Is that
literally every single T-shirt. Just the man.
Just the man. You just love that she's the man.
Oh, and here's an honorable mention that I forgot to put out earlier. WrestleMania, Elias, and Thug and Onyx.
Yeah, okay. That was a good spot.
Yes.
That was a good spot.
That was good. I loved that.
That was a good spot, yeah. So.
Also, Lacey Evans is not blonde Nikki Bella. Whoever ever says that, then just stop.
I think she looks like a blonde Nikki Bella. Sorry.
She does not.
I do.
She does not.
I know. We talk about this every Monday night, but I just think looks like Nikki Bella dyed her hair blonde.
Seriously?
Yeah. Sorry. It'll take me a while to get over.
She's way more fit and beautiful than that.
I think they're both beautiful women, so I'm staying out of it. I'm not going to shame anybody. I'm just saying I think Lacey Evans looks like a blonde Nikki Bella. Josh, what do you think?
Shame.
A shame. Yeah, I'm staying out of that one. Yeah.
I don't think Lacey looks like Nikki Bella at all, actually.
No.
So you're on my.
I'm probably alone in that. I think it's something with the jawline, maybe the chin, jaw, something. I don't know. But those were our tops, guys. So here's what we want you to do. We want you guys to send us at the Hoots Podcast, Twitter, Instagram. That's where we're at right there.
Yes, sir.
Send over who you think might be your top 5 from Royal Rumble 2019 to WrestleMania 35. And again, it doesn't have to be enclosed in the WWE umbrella. I know I didn't. I wanted to bring up Adam Cole. I wanted to bring up some other people too. But it was really hard to kind of fit. But there's been a lot of good wrestling over the past.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Can't include Adam Cole because Adam Cole is dead.
Adam Cole is dead.
His funeral already happened a year ago. He's just dead.
Forgot. Where's Marty at then? Purgatory? I think Marty's in purgatory then, huh?
Yeah, because all his friends are dead, but they're not. We're seeing them every week.
That's what he said.
YouTube.
He was like, or are my friends dead or am I? So maybe Marty's in purgatory for maybe about 2 weeks or so.
Maybe he's dead right now. And then maybe his ghost is gonna come back.
The ghost of the villain.
Yes. I'm hearing his voice a lot.
All right, AJ. Well, since this segment is over, we thank you very much for helping us out with this.
Thank you.
There we go. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so there we go. There was our top 5 that we included with our through the wrestling through the eyes of a 9-year-old segment, guys. So that one, I'll admit, I kind of made it a little bit more difficult on her today. And I told her about 2 hours before we taped this, I said, hey, listen, got to put a top 5 together. This is what we're doing. So probably made it a little bit more difficult on her than how we normally pick her brain. But That's not necessarily a bad thing either. So, Josh, real quick before we wrap up the show today, anything else do you think that we want to hit on as far as what's been going on over the past couple months wrestling wise? WWE related, NXT related, any contractual things that are going on, entertainment, outside stuff, like what's going on? As the cool kids used to say, what's the haps on the craps?
Right. I don't want to bring the mood down or anything like that, but I found out earlier this morning a guy that I wouldn't say call a mentor, but a guy that I looked up to in the media business. A guy I got to meet and talk to a couple times, and ran into a guy named Chet Kopic, passed away at the age of 70. He's the godfather of Chicago sports talk radio. And I got to meet him a couple times on occasion. He actually was a ring announcer at WrestleMania 2 in Chicago. He did a lot of WWE shows when they were in town during the 70s and 80s. Chet was a big wrestling fan, and he was a cool dude. I got to talk to him, big personality type of dude. He was pretty cool. Fortunately, he passed away suffering from injuries he suffered in a car crash last week. So unfortunately, he passed away today at the age of 70. But I just want to send my thoughts and prayers to his family. Very, very unfortunate way to go out like that. But Chet was a cool dude, and he mentored a lot of people that are in the media business today, and people that had as teachers in broadcasting schools. So my thoughts and prayers go out to the Kopic family. Besides that, from a more positive and entertainment point of view,
that was well done, man. That was nice tribute, man. That was good.
From more entertainment side, I go check out the trailers I mentioned before about Lion King and Star Wars. Also, the Hobbs and Shaw trailer for Fast and the Furious, the spinoff they're having.
They need to stop with those too. Speaking of,
it looks pretty dope though. Especially the part where Roman was in there. It looks pretty dope. I don't know when it's coming out, but go check out those trailers. And also, if you want an old school concert, it's not that old or whatever, but go check out Linkin Park. They have the concert on YouTube, Linkin Park at Madison Square Garden. It was a Fuse special during one of their tours. It's really, really good. It features a lot of songs from my favorite album from theirs. Go check it out, Linkin Park. I think it was 2008-ish. Go check it out on YouTube. Linkin Park at Madison Square Garden. One of the best concerts.
I feel like this. Do you say Crockett and Tubbs or Hobbs and
Shaw?
Hobbs, Calvin and Hobbs. This is the most ridiculous outreach to branch off of a franchise that's been beat to death since Aquaman.
More than
Well, yeah. Because I think with Avengers, they knew they were getting into a 10-year plan with a lot of intricate stories to get to. I hate to use pun intended here, to get to an end game. They knew of the story. I think with this Fast and the Furious, I don't think they ever expected 8 movies and a spinoff or whatever they're doing. I really should have stopped after Tokyo Drift. I've only ever seen the second one, to be honest. So I mean, because I just don't really care at all about any of those movies. That's why I think we're getting a little overkill once we're like, are these? And I want to just graze upon something else. The Fast and the Furious started because it was tricked out cars. They were fast. They were this. They were that. It's whatever. Are they like fighting like space aliens and ghosts now? See what I mean? Like, we're taking things a little too far now. Like, we want to knock wrestling for being like nonsense. We went from like Ludacris being in a jumpsuit, like, man, we're racing today. We're working on this money. So like now The Rock's fighting some like Martians over in London with Jason Statham or something. Like, what's going? Can I just tap out early? I'll tap out.
Yeah, we could also tap out in the James Bond movies that come out every other year too.
Yeah, that's more. That I actually, even though I don't get into James Bond, I guess I get how people appeal to that character. It's almost like because they reinvent the character. I guess I'm looking for something else to tie into here, but I guess with that, I couldn't. Can you imagine right now? Like, can you imagine if say Super Troopers, like they made a second one, but can you imagine if they were on like Super Troopers 7, like or something? We'd be like, all right, maybe you jump the shark on this one,
They got a couple good series before we wrap it up. They got a good series. the Equalizer ones with Denzel Washington, I really enjoyed, and the John Wick movies as well. I don't know when number 3 is coming out, but that should be pretty dope.
No, there's a lot of series of movies that I like. With this one, I just feel like certain franchises get taken way too far.
Yes.
Yeah, this one might be one that's way too far. But at the same time, when The Rock's in it, it's rarely bad. Although I shouldn't say that because I did watch The Tooth Fairy. You know what? On the entertainment side of things, for me, man, I mean, other than that Joker trailer that came out, movie wise, I'm trying to think of some other thing. I just saw Kevin Hart's new stand up. It was hysterical. It's called Irresponsible. Absolutely hysterical. Check that out on Netflix if you get a chance. I'm trying to think. There's not much, other than Gotham wrapping it up. I don't dip too much. I'm busy. It's when you're adulting and I hate that term. When you're of a certain age and you have to use the term adulting, there's already problems.
Right.
You're already got priorities not in line. But yeah, man. I mean, there's a couple. I want to see Jordan Peele's movie really bad. Us, right? Us.
Yeah.
That I do want to see. I know it's already in theaters. That's gonna be my next one, and I'll probably see Endgame eventually too. But Spidey, I'm excited for. I'm always excited for a Spider-Man movie. So when I think Spider-Man, whatever Spider-Man's coming out this year, not Homecoming because that was the last one, but it's gonna be the same kid, whatever. I'm looking forward to that movie, which probably gives away some spoilers from Civil War, or not Civil War, but Endgame, but neither here nor there. I guess I'm not living up to the hype of keeping spoilers out of people out of the way. Iron Man dies. I don't really know that to be true, guys. So please, nobody. No, well, you can't at me because I'm not on Twitter. But go ahead.
No, man. I was to say, man, it's pretty cool. We got the Superstar Shakeup all ready to go. We'll see what happens the next couple weeks. Mike, I don't know what date Money in the Bank is, but we'll get into that in a couple weeks. But
is that the next pay-per-view?
Yeah, that's the next pay-per-view.
Wow, man. So they went straight from Mania to Money in the Bank this year.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I wonder. Let me real quick. So we'll make us like a little 5-minute topic just to close out the show.
Well, actually, bad part on me on YouTube. I actually set it up to end at 4:30 on my bed.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. That's perfect because I see where we're at right here. So we're time wise, I'm clocking us. So we're gonna wrap as we're talking about this. Do you like the move that right after WrestleMania? And do you think it was done? 2-part question. Do you like it? And do you think it was done strategically because this is when WWE kind of resets their year, and then now somebody can be a Money in the Bank winner almost all year, and WrestleMania could really have like a long build if they wanted to wait all the way till WrestleMania?
Yeah, your last point I want to hit on that because I think doing it now will give them more time to space out who's going to cash and when, and what character actually needs the briefcase. That's going to be the interesting part about it when it comes to the shakeup. So that's what I'm looking forward to, especially with the fact that Money in the Bank is the next pay-per-view. So I kind of like it this way, and then you can get your little grudge and gimmicky pay-per-views out of the way before SummerSlam.
I agree. I like that. And you know what? And so it's going to be hard for us to do our top 5 again, like back-to-back pay-per-views. So maybe we'll have to rearrange that a little bit. But one thing that I do like about the Superstar Shakeup and why I'm not going to do any snap judgments when people are, and that's why we didn't dissect the show this week, and we're never going to. And I see the timer kind of counting down here, so I'm timing this. But the best part, anytime they do drafts, shakeups, rearrange the roster however they want, it usually is going to take a couple weeks for everything to really settle in and really get comfortable with the new setup and the feuds that they're setting up. And that to me is always the fun of it, to kind of see where they're going, kind of see. I never mind if it feels clunky for a couple weeks when they're kind of figuring things out. I think it shows that they're kind of the wheels are going, things are in motion. So I don't think that the criticisms of any of the moves that they've made, because there's going to be criticisms, and that's the way of life, but I don't think any criticism should really start until at least after Money in the Bank, so that we can see where the true direction is going to go forward for the rest of 2019 and beginning of 2020. So, all right. So listen, we're just about to wrap this up. This has been episode 152 of the Hoots podcast. Here's what you're going to do, guys. Find us on Spotify, find us on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, subscribe, comment, like, whatever. It's the Hoots podcast on Twitter. It's all weird. Like, follow, stalk. It's all, social media is so weird. And it's funny when people get mad about having a public profile. Close it up. That's why it's just there's a generation that does not have a brain. There's people in their mid-20s in Legos. It's the most ridiculous thing. No wonder why our country is in such turmoil. Anyway, Josh, final thoughts.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. It's always let's give a shout out to Adam, by the way, for those listening right now. Let's give a shout out for Adam, who killed it the last 2 weeks hosting the show.
No,
this nice little feature we can do this yearly whenever it's the Superstar Shakeup. It's pretty cool. Had a lot of fun. We had a lot today, especially the music. So that was a really fun conversation at the beginning.
Yeah,
of the show. I did want to mention for everybody that's listening, Brother Carter, Eric Stoughton will be joining us next week on the podcast. So I'm very excited for that. But besides that, man, hope everybody enjoys your Easter. But it's been a fun show so far today.
It's been a great show. And you know what? Everybody have a happy Easter no matter where you're at in the world as far as that goes. And listen, next week's show, recording time may be a little bit off because the real star of the show, my daughter has a doctor's appointment. So we're going to be basing taping around that because she's become a staple on the show now. And I guess that's what we have to do to appease the people.
Yes.
But as I always like to say, listen, guys, enjoy your holiday weekend wherever you're at in the world. And as I always say, I know there's a million things in this world at this time you could be doing. I thank you so much for tuning in to us, spending it, even if it's a minute or two, listening to us ramble, rant, rave, whatever you want to do. There's so much things that you could be doing with your time. Time is money, 168 hours in a week. We thank you for spending 2 hours with us and kind of kicking back and hoping that you fell into the conversation. We appreciate you guys. We wouldn't be doing this and we wouldn't be here without you. So for Josh, for my lovely daughter, AJ, and thank you to everyone that's listening out there. We appreciate you. Keep one foot in the gutter and one fist in the gold. Peace.
Peace.